Welcome to the skating session. My name is Tony Wheeler,
And I'm Thomas Vu.
and we're here to review Grand Prix number three of the season, Skate Canada.
It's really kind of interesting that like from one week to the next, we kind of had the same issue with the tech panel, even if it's three different people, that it was kind of so bad that even Chris again was calling it out, right? But
Hmm.
I think what was different between that and this was that it seemed to be corrected by the time of the free program. So I don't know what you think happened between one day to the next.
Yeah, absolutely, because we were talking as the women's short program especially went through,
Yeah.
and so many calls looked the other way or not even reviewed. And the reason we know they weren't reviewed is because Chris, we'll get into what he's done during this competition, but he was mentioning, oh, they're not even taking a second look at this or that. And there were just so many instances where even in real time, it's like this jump was short. It should have at least
Hmm.
been reviewed to verify. And then we go to the free skate, and we know again from Chris that there were some skaters that every single jump element, towards the end, it seemed like every single element was getting reviewed. So what does this tell me? If a panel's not looking at anything one day, and there's kind of an outcry from the ISU commentator to the point that it's kind of gaining momentum on social media, I think maybe the ISU told this panel, hey, maybe you need to be a little bit more with it and strict about
Right.
what you're doing in the free skate because it just makes no sense to me to look the complete other way. And then for the free skate, just you go through that protocol and it's like they went to town on most of the skaters.
For
Now,
real, yeah. And it
yeah,
was so bad too that like, he didn't do it during the men's long, but during the women's long, he was still talking about
yeah,
the short
yeah,
program calls, for
yeah,
the skaters, right? And so even if you had missed the short program, you still knew what was happening.
yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah,
that's the only thing I can think of is that they had to have been talked to. I've never really seen anything like it because typically a
right.
panel is either going to be very strict or very lenient, and that's been if you go back to my blog days, and my blog isn't online anymore, but if I pull up the archives, I literally went into these rants all the time about how these panels do what they want and they're looking the other way and they're saying more often than not they're saying, "Oh, this one camera angle we get that's determining the calls, it's not good enough for us to make decisions." But you have this competition from the short program to the free skate, suddenly the camera is good enough to make all these decisions. Give me a break.
Right.
That's always
Mhm.
like their crutch that they use is this is why I can't do my job, but it's showing that they can. Now, in the free skate, I don't want to do this whole episode because I feel like watching the Cup of China episode back, we were very negative about almost everything, and a lot of it had to do with the judging and how slow and tired the skaters looked. I don't want to
Yeah.
go into every single skater here and be like, ah, well, this jump should have been this and this
Mhm.
should have been this because that's one thing, and it gets very tedious, I think, to listen to. But I do think even in the free skate, they look the other way. I would say Monet Chiba, for example, her double axel just kind of by default looks short, and they don't even review it. And I know Brady Tennell had a really questionable call on her triple triple in
Yeah.
the short program. To me, I thought that was the most obvious one that got a really benefit because I feel like the toe loop was almost a half a rotation short on the landing. But aside from that, it just seems like they did get some talking to. I
Yeah.
still think this sport needs to get to the point where there's some kind of AI involved or some change because I've been harping on this over and over and over again, but it makes no sense to go from one competition to the next and a skater's score differs that much based on the same technique that they're typically doing. Most skaters have this kind of cheated landing built into how they do the jump. So it's not going to change that much from competition to competition. But if we were looking at the protocols, we would think, oh, they suddenly miraculously have
Right.
this good technique. So something needs
Mhm.
to be done. I'm happy that Chris was calling it out. I've only seen him one other time. I think it was last year during the European men's free skate. He was calling out the absolute lack of choreography that some of the skaters had in the lower groups and just basically saying, how are you giving the PCS that you're giving for this when there is literally no choreography? Here, it was just a whole nother level of like
I
it kind of,
know.
if you know how I post on any kind of forum, it was kind of like reading what I post on the
Yeah.
forum in words.
I'm literally like, he's one of us. He's one of us,
Yeah.
like I'm
Yeah.
hearing a Vita.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like honestly refreshing to me because a lot of times the commentators can just kind of just gloss over things, say really generic things, and
Hmm.
he's getting more into these nitty-gritty details. He's
Hmm.
informing us of the calls and the reviews as they're happening, which I really appreciate. I loved we would go through those replays and he would say like, "Here's what the panel called this," as we're watching the slow-mo,
Right.
So. I think it's really informative. I really think that's the place where the sport needs to head to more because start treating your audience like they are smart. That's what I think we all want. That's what the diehards want. And I think if you're somebody who wants to get into figure skating, it's going to help you understand it more. So I'm all
Yeah.
for it. Loved it.
Yeah, and I
Mhm.
saw, I when I start to get like this and I get very, very kind of eagle-eyed on the jumps and I say, oh, that this is a disaster, no one's calling anything. I know that there's a certain fandom that just is not having it because they feel like it's so over the top and the sport shouldn't be that. But what I have to say to that, and I actually
Yes,
saw
it
a really
should.
good comment, this is not stars on ice. This is
Right.
not like a show skating. This is a competition where the best should win. You should not just say, we're looking the other way on this skater or that skater or the entire field, but the next competition, it's not going to be the same deal. It needs to be the queue needs to go away first and foremost. We've been saying that for years. That needs to go away because that is such
Right.
an easy way out, and you see so many of them just thrown out so that the base
It's
value
yeah,
doesn't go down.
I just call the Q call a plausible deniability for tech panels, really what it
Exactly.
is. So it's like,
Exactly.
most of the times you'll see it is when a skater falls, right, on a jump, and it's clearly under, but they just call it Q instead, and then the base value doesn't lower.
Right.
Whereas
Right.
all like an under caret does is just lower that base value, whereas a Q just, hey, we did something, but it really had no actual effect.
Yeah.
And the biggest example I still think about how bad the cue calls can be used is the Skate America right before the last Olympics, where Vincent Zoe beats Nathan Chen because all of his quads are just given that convenient
Hmm.
cue.
Hmm.
Even when live, I could see, like, for example, oh, that quad saw needs to be downgraded. It's a straight downgrade, not even like close to a cue, you know? So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm totally with you.
Hmm. So Chris is done with the Grand Prix this year. He did
Oh,
mention,
he
I think
is?
yesterday, yeah, the next time he'll be on the air is for Europeans. I know that Mark Henretti is taking over
Okay.
for NHK next week and also for Finlandia. In between that, Ted Barton
Who's
is
doing Skate
doing
America?
skate. Ted
Oh,
Barton.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, so but the thing is about Mark is also very technically savvy, more so than Chris is even, and I expect more of the same from him. He's very good at kind of real time, especially in ice dance because he was an ice dancer, but in singles and pairs too, he knows the rules well enough that he can get into why this or that should be this. And I'm hoping he follows through because the more pressure they get from maybe teaching the audience from these commentators that hey, things aren't what they
Yeah.
seem and this should be, maybe there's more push on the ISU to say hey, we really need to do something about this, and what better time to fix it than just a few months before the Olympics. So
I mean, better late than never, I guess, is kind of like
exactly.
what I'll say
only
with that.
only like only 20, almost 22 years after the start of IGS, they're finally
Right.
getting a little pushback on it, so that's nice, I guess. All
You know,
right.
and yeah, and the one last thing I'll say is, like, do you remember when IJS was really kind of getting out there and they released all these videos about examples of like, hey, here's what's really great
Yes,
choreography
yes.
or transitions, right? And they basically used like Matt Savoy exclusively.
Yeah.
Yet he wasn't winning PCS in any of these
Yeah,
competitions, right?
exactly.
Maybe they need to do that with like all the Shinamano calls and be like, this is how everyone should be calling, actually,
Hmm.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, totally agreed. And I do remember those videos. The ISU put on, I don't know if it was on their website because I don't think maybe around that time YouTube was just starting, but I remember Tatiana Malinina, a lot of her jumps were used as really
Hmm.
good examples of jumps. And then when IJS came out, I do remember apparent I don't this is gonna stick with me forever because I've mentioned before Maria Butirskaya is my favorite skater, but I remember someone posted that in one of those ISU councils explaining IJS to begin with, it was COP back then, but they compared Maria Butirskaya's 1999 World Championship winning free skate to Janet Lynn's like 1973 free skate or something and showed why Janet Lynn would have won. I just remember that stuck out to me. I'm never going to find it anywhere on the internet anymore, but it sticks out to me because obviously Maria was my favorite
Oh,
skater. So yeah, but I just remember that was one of the things that they had pointed out.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
So
see that. I haven't seen that, and now I want to just because I'm
yeah,
so incredulous just hearing this. Anyway.
yeah, yeah. So okay, let's move on to the actual competition.
Yeah.
I think that's the rant is out of the way. So moving forward with reviewing these skaters, I don't really want to delve into it because it is what it is. I just hope that this moves us in
Yeah.
a good direction and I won't have so much to complain about. But let's start with the pairs. They were the first ones that finished up. What did you think?
It was a really great competition. I really enjoyed it. Real step up from Cup of China. I know I feel like again, I think we're going to say that a lot. So And I enjoyed Stellato Dudek and Deschamps way more
Yeah.
this time around. I mean, the
Yeah.
short program still, I'm still not feeling it until the step sequence. It still feels really like they're just buying time until they can interpret the music and have this big moment, especially
Hmm.
with
Backflip.
the backflip. Yeah, the backflip. But otherwise, it's great. I felt like the interpretation was there more, especially in the short program. Diana, no, or sorry, Deanna was really, really giving it, and you could see
Hmm.
that she was so
Hmm.
into this. And I remember talking last week about how musical I thought she was, but I just didn't feel that. Where here you
Hmm.
could feel it.
Hmm.
Short program, long, especially in the long program. Aside from that double sock house she did, it's probably the best I've seen them skate since they won the world title,
Since
and
Worlds, yeah.
probably their second best skate overall in terms of just too how natural everything felt, how
Hmm.
smooth the transitions were. You never felt like they were out of sync with each other. They knew
Hmm.
exactly what they should be doing when, but they weren't thinking about it. They were able to perform. And so still not my favorite long program they've done, but I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. And then what I love that I love when she walks off the ice.
Yeah.
What did she say? That damn saw. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
love that competitive spirit, how like immediately mad with herself she was,
Yeah.
for missing
Yeah.
it when you know she probably drilled that again and again
Of
and again.
course. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you go back to France, I actually said I liked both programs. I do think that the
Yep.
short program, yeah, it's kind of nothing until that backflip, and then that's the excitement, blah blah blah. But I do think the actual vibe of the program fits them, and I don't think it's that empty. I just if we look back to 2 years ago, I think that short program for
Mm.
them was so good. I think maybe I'm comparing it to that. I still think this is good for them. Now the free skate, I liked it in France, but I questioned, that twist issue that they had at the start of the
Yeah.
program there. It looked like he was both of them, but especially him. It just looks like they were frazzled by that mistake in the start of the program. So I remember I mentioned, well, I don't know. I feel like it's falling flat, maybe because they were just so thrown off by that mistake. This time, definitely much sharper. I felt like the first
Mhm.
time, maybe my critique was it takes a while for the music to pick up, but this time I didn't really feel that because I feel like they were so into it, especially her. Um, but yeah, I've commented and I've said I think that the only way they're going to be on the Olympic podium is if several other teams make mistakes at this point. It kind of seems like they're slotted into maybe a race for fourth place, but we've seen here that mistakes are possible and if they skate very well, and this wasn't even their best because they did have a big
Right.
mistake, but if they skate well, they're still in it for a potential Olympic medal.
Yeah, definitely if they skate clean, they're in there just waiting to take advantage of other people's mistakes. And I
Hmm.
think, looking back on that comment you made last time they competed about the twist throwing them off, I think you're totally right, in hindsight, just seeing this and the big
Yeah.
difference in
Yeah.
performance level, almost night and day, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
whereas last time it felt like they just learned the program a week before, where this
Yeah.
felt like they've had it for months now.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like they just
loved
went
it.
into panic mode and it kind of
Hmm.
it went through the entire program to be like that. Now, one thing, the short program, just to make mention of, they got called a death spiral level one, and she was not happy about that. She said, I think she said her quote was 5 days ago she did the same thing and got a level three, I believe, but it wasn't five. It was 2 weeks ago. She was talking about France, but she was not happy about that. She is such a perfectionist, and I like that about her. She is so fiery. She doesn't really hide how she's feeling. It was really nice to see in the kiss and cry in the free skate when the score came up. It was like all that pressure just kind of was relieved, and she just
Yeah.
sighed out and smiled, and she was happy. Beating the world silver medalist who look, we'll talk about them in a second, but it looks like they should be Olympic favorites. This is a big deal, and now Deanna and Max have their ticket stamped to the Grand Prix final in Japan, and let's see where we can go from there. Moving on now to Haas and Volodin from Germany. Like I said, they were silver medalists at Worlds by the slimmest of margins. They just had that one mistake on their lift at the end of the program that cost
I
them the gold
know.
medal. But here, so first of all, I'm going to let you gush
Oh,
totally first
okay.
because
So
I'm going
just,
to right after you.
okay, good, good. We'll just gush for like 5 minutes in a row.
Yeah.
So just so much improvement over last season to this season. I know last season it's like, okay, we all kind of wanted them to win, but their flaws are really obvious. Their programs were emptier, they were skating slower.
Slow.
There wasn't that level of like sophistication in the programs themselves to really kind of be like, oh no, they definitely should have won. They were cheated. Like none of that mentality. Like I never felt
Hmm.
that. I felt
Hmm.
Muir and Kiara just deserved that win, right? Whereas now seeing these programs this season, I'm immediately just like, oh, the intensity's there, that
Hmm.
sophistication in the choreography is there, the transitions are there, and they're doing it's like they've realized exactly what their strengths are, and it's basically what the field of pairs is missing, right? And
Hmm.
it's that elegance, it's those lines, it's creating those shapes. And so like I don't even know how to describe this. I don't even know where to start. That's how like in this fangirly like mindset I'm
Hmm.
in. But I
Hmm.
love these transitions to the short program, just like right before the triple lutz, the throw lutz, and right after two, same thing before and after the death spiral, and then how she's still performing through the death
Hmm.
spiral is
Hmm.
just so
Hmm.
just worlds above, like really what we're seeing in pairs today, you know. And
Yeah.
then it gets to the long program, and I literally just like fall in love with this long program. It's the best long program right now, I think, in the field. It's my
Hmm.
favorite that I've seen.
Hmm.
I think it's my favorite long program that I've seen in pairs in years.
Hmm.
They've improved all the elements. That twist is even cleaner.
Hmm.
Like they don't have the same issue a lot of their competitors do, where their side-by-side jumps are just miles apart. You know,
Hmm.
they could be
Yeah.
slightly closer
Yeah.
together, but it's not to the point to where it's clearly negative GOE. You know, and these teams shouldn't be getting more than +1 for any of their side-by-side jumps. But
Hmm.
for me, this just program's magic, and it's just like all the shapes, not just even like the straight lines where it's like you see her fingertips to
Hmm.
her toes out, but then these like curve shapes too, where they're doing that. And then he's so good at being understated yet elegant, right?
Hmm.
Where you feel this kind of stability in his like strength, but at the same time, it's not like a Bruno Massot situation where you're almost forgiving, his posture because Aliona
Yeah.
is so
Yeah. Yeah.
good. They're
Yeah.
just so good all around, both of
Hmm.
them. I really hope they skate past this season. I don't know, even if they win the Olympic gold medal, I would love to see this team develop over the next 4 years into
Hmm.
just, I don't know. Please start because I could just keep
Okay.
going.
Yeah, so the short program, I have to say, just the vibes of it, the feeling, the choreography, the intricacy between all of the elements. There's always something going on. There's so many transitions, which transitions don't mean much anymore in the
Yeah.
grand scope of things, but still I respect that I see it and they're really pushing. One thing I will say that you said I totally agree with, their side-by-side jumps are done close together, especially the Salchows and the free skate. You see so many teams, so many top level teams that are miles apart. This team is so close together on almost everything they do. Their lines match. They're always in sync. She always gives that extra flourish of giving that little bit of extra everything. Definitely a huge, huge fan of the short program. I think it is the best program um, this year. And I love the Japanese Paris short program, but we saw it last year. It's basically the same thing this year. I see their
Yeah.
faults. I just think there's no comparison. I think they're both great programs, but I think back to back, head to head, however it's going to be when it gets Olympic time or even the Grand Prix final, we're just going to see that the Germans are in a league of their own. Then we go to the free skate, and you know they did not skate well. This is like one of the
Yeah.
worst skates I think they've had that since I've been
Mhm.
watching them, really. First of all, lost so many points on that opening should have been a sequence of jumps. He slipped off. It looked like he hit his heel on the landing,
Yeah.
and then he got no other second or third jump out. So there's a big, massive loss of points there. And then the triple flip later in the program, she also fell on it. It just looked crooked from the takeoff. But that said, everything else that they did in the program, there's really nothing to fault. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, go ahead.
And even that like throw triple flip, right? There isn't even a long setup
Yeah,
too, so they're even setting it up to where it really is a difficult transition
yeah,
into it, where you're
yeah,
almost surprised that it's happening.
yeah.
And so that's what
It's
just
very
I loved
Stolbova
about it.
Klimov, very
Right?
Stolbova
Yeah,
Klimov.
yeah, yeah. Just
Yeah,
here it is, bam, done.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
and I feel like their stamina is a lot better this year too.
Hmm.
Whereas you see this other teams kind of almost like depressed from their peak of last year's Worlds and
Hmm.
building that stamina up. No, they're just
Hmm.
still raising their level. He's way more secure in the end of these programs than he had been like all last season too. I never got this sense that he's just really kind of pushing himself. This is just how they normally do business. They skate,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Uh, I was just really impressed all the way around. It's like you've said before, it almost feels like perfect pair skating that you haven't seen in so
yeah.
long. And if they
No.
hit this clean, it's going to be so, so, so good. Something I'll watch repeatedly for like decades, this long
Agreed.
program.
Agreed. The free skate does have choreography that kind of gives a nod to Sevchenko and Massot. I think a lot of it's, no, I wouldn't say a lot. I just see glimpses of where it's very similar, but who cares when they skate like they do? One thing too, just the way they end the program with the lift, just like it's a crazy, crazy good finish. The whole thing just kind of ties itself together. it is an Olympic program. I don't feel like we've seen so many of those so far this year, but it is.
They integrate the elements way better than most ice dance teams.
Yeah.
And they're doing pairs elements, and that's
Yeah.
just the level of sophistication in this long program. It's
Yeah.
just such worlds above what they were giving us last year. And obviously they need to, I think, to really set themselves apart for the Olympics. But
Yeah.
I'm with you. They skate clean, they win right now.
Hmm.
Sui and Han are nowhere near podium threats, in my opinion, at the level they're
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
now. And it's what, 4 months?
Three.
Five?
Three.
Three? Oh, wow. The Olympics are just like right around the corner. So I don't see how they really work up to that level. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, we've seen miracles from them before,
Yeah.
where they looked really bad at four continents and come out
Right.
at Worlds looking really good. So,
Right.
but still, like, yeah, we got to stop. Otherwise, I'm going to gush for like
Yeah.
another 20 minutes.
And we'll have a 2 hour long video again when we
Again,
promise
right?
we're not
Yeah.
going to complain about everything. Okay, so Cameron O'Shea here win the bronze
Yeah.
medal. So one thing I will say about both of their programs, I think that their choreography is also above and beyond what a typical pair is. I think they've just kind of found the magic formula and they have such good skating skills that they can pull
Yep.
off this difficult choreography. Their free skate last year, we talked about how they're doing elements that almost, we talked about this with the Germans, but it's almost like it's an ice dance program that's done better than the dancers do. I feel like with Cam and O'Shea, what they have is the choreography really accentuates the big lifts and they always
Yep.
kind it's kind of the same formula as last year. I will say that, and I like their free skate last year a little bit better, but even this year you see it ends on those big lifts and it's just to the right moment of the music
Yep.
that just kind of gives this little oomph that gives that extra to the program. Free skate, well, actually, short program really quick. Her ankle, I don't know how her ankle is still in place after that ankle was all over the place, and then on slow motion you see it's like it literally. I don't know how it didn't snap,
Like on
but
on the throw, right? Yeah, that
yeah,
like it didn't it make you almost feel like physically like, oh no, like you were
yeah,
so worried for like half a second until she got
yeah,
up and kept going.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. hmm
yeah.
Because
But then we go to
we're
the
in our
free
30s
skate.
and we're like,
Yeah,
yeah, we're feeling our bodies fall apart
yeah,
just watching that.
yeah.
So go ahead.
So we go to the free skate, and it's a darker program.
Yeah.
I think the music in the beginning is kind of whatever, but it ends nicely. I still, I was a big fan of their free skate last year, so I'm referencing that when I say that it's not quite as good, in my opinion. But let's talk about how they actually got through all the elements. Um, I think they really needed this because at the beginning of the year they were kind of looking like middle of the road. Are they even going to be
Mhm.
in contention for an Olympic spot, even though they looked like they were leading up until Worlds last year? I mean, I don't know. Uh, I was so pleasantly surprised. I feel like this was a lucky day. I don't think that this is a typical day for them, but I can see that she's
With the two of
really,
them.
really fighting. Um, and it was a good skate. I mean, I really thought they were going to score even slightly higher than they did. I think they
Me
might have gotten
too.
a call
Yeah. I felt
somewhere.
like they got lowballed on PCS here a little
Yeah. Well,
bit,
yeah,
is really what it was, I think. Because I saw this as like a mid 130s skate, maybe upper
pushing 140.
130s, depending.
Yeah.
Yeah, pushing 140, right?
Yeah.
Um, One thing that, again, you're talking about like their skating skills in terms of like a pair, right, in the field right now. Is there really another team showing us skating skills to this level? And there really isn't. I wouldn't even put the Japanese up there because the Japanese skate really fast, but it's so sloppy all over the
Sloppy.
place.
Yeah.
Whereas Cam and O'Shea generate speed so easily, but they're
Hmm.
always giving you good posture and lines,
Hmm.
right? They're showing you these great shapes. Whereas I never feel like that with Rihir and Kiara, right? Like where I could just take some random picture and it's gonna look good.
Hmm.
So I was really impressed with this. I think you're right in that they're back at kind of like the top of that pecking order for U.S. pairs. I think their spot at the Olympics is safe. I don't see USFS sending another team because
Yeah.
who really is giving us pair skating at this level? It really does feel like, again, like classic pair skating, but almost like with a modern twist, right?
Right.
They have a more modern vibe than like Haas and Volodin do. And so I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it. I think Ellie Cam is just probably the best in terms of skating skills in pairs today. And then, Danny's just such a good partner. He always has
Hmm.
been. And so to me, again, if they solve these jump issues like every pair, it'd be really good. And the one weakness I really see is that they're just kind of giving up base value because they're not even going for a three jump
I was gonna
sequence.
say that. Why did you know what? The only thing I could think of when I saw that is that they're so used to having errors on the first or maybe even the second jump that they don't even think about a third jump. But they
Right,
could have easily tacked on even a single axle. I don't
right.
think they would have gone for a double axle, but you
Yeah.
can get another point, point and a half there just by throwing that onto there. So that was a missed opportunity. Um, I don't know what the reasoning is, but all in all, just so good here. So
Really good. And I
surprising.
thought some of their GOE was really undermarked for
Yeah.
some of these, especially at the end of the program. It's like you
Yeah.
see them, most judges just maxing out at +3 for these lifts. I'm
Mhm.
like, to me, just especially when you look at like the criteria, it's so just not just fast, great rotation, it's consistent, good entries, good exits, but it works with the music too. It
Mhm.
really does
Yeah.
highlight the music and you feel that build. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I haven't enjoyed US pairs to this level. Like I think this whole cycle, aside from like Cam and O'Shea, they really
Yeah.
are giving us what you want in pair skating, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
So they finished with bronze medal. Pereira and Michaud from Canada. Actually, I forgot to say in the beginning, I'm wearing flannel because I'm like, what in my closet is going to be the most kind of
Canadian.
reference to Canadian? And this is what I came up with, so that's why I have
People were
flannel on.
saying that last time that red shirt made you look like the Canadian Tire guy.
Exactly. Yeah. So this time I actually tried to find like something a nod that's to Canada.
Yeah.
So Pereira and Michaud though they finished in fourth place. Short program, Say You Love Me. Kind of about the music, but I thought the
Yeah.
choreography of the program was very very good. Clean lines, nice nuances, strong steps. And then I suspected while I was watching it, I thought it would be Marie-France Dubreuil because I've kind of got this Cameron O'Shea vibe to it. But I think it was Madison Hubble and like some kind of combination of other
Oh,
Ice
okay.
Academy of Montreal, former ice dancers that put this program together. And I think you can really see it. You can see
Yeah.
a nod to ice dance and more the more strength than just like kind of simply skating through the elements like we see so much. Uh, got through that program very well. Then we go to the free skate. It's the mission. The mission, I'm a sucker for this music no matter what. There's been so many great programs to it. I think David Liu, who most people have never seen, you can see his skating on the channel that I've put up in the past. But I think he has the best version of the mission. Then Matt Savoy had a really good one in 2006. There have been so many memorable programs to this. Even Zagorska and Sidek, who were Polish, they were world bronze medalists at one point. They kind of reinvented themselves after moving to Montreal, and they came to Skate Canada in 2004 with this mission program that just brought the house down. I think they won bronze, but their free skate score was like massive. So yes, very memorable programs with this music. Here, I have to say, I don't know. I'm just not. Last year, I thought they had two programs that were just so run of the mill and average, and I feel like she's just so far and away a star that it was the wrong vehicle for them altogether. The short
Yeah.
program is more what I would consider. Free skate, I see glimpses of it, but I just don't. I don't know. I wasn't like as pulled into it for it being the mission as I think I should have been.
See, and I think what's always missing right now with them still is just that sense of oneness, that unison you want in a pair, like they are just two moving as one, right? And I still don't get that with them. They just feel like a really good athletic pair with great lifts, great elements, but I never feel anything watching them right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Hmm.
Because I think it's that issue to where they're not really kind of relating to one another at that level, and then you don't feel it in
Hmm.
the program. And so they've definitely like plateaued. I remember in 2023, we were all talking like, oh, they could be on like the world podium, right?
Hmm.
Like, because they were just
Yeah.
that strong out the
Yeah.
gate. And they really haven't improved to the level like everyone around them has. Everyone else is climbing way quicker than they are in terms of like ability and consistency. And so I don't know, like really what's missing here, but I
Hmm.
do much prefer to watch him now. I was commenting about how his lifts are so much more secure. And I remember with his
Yeah.
last partner, they were constantly terrible.
They were terrifying.
I remember like watching them live, and I literally was doing this sometimes,
Yeah.
like oh, like like
His feet were
that.
so sloppy on
Mhm.
every single lift. Yeah. I
And
remember
now it's
the
like really
same.
good. It was so secure here. So it's like a great improvement for that too.
Yeah.
It's just like you're saying, like, and then when you have a more or less disaster skate like that in the free program, it's hard to even appreciate the long program for what it is. Like, and
Hmm.
so it was really hard for me to even evaluate it from that perspective. But like you, I didn't really enjoy all that much, even if it is the mission, which even I'll just listen to randomly,
Yeah.
put on while I'm
Yeah.
cleaning or working.
So I want to just make a special mention of a few teams. Vipe and Law and Digby from Great Britain. They were way far away out of it after the short program. I think they were like 48 points, and the next team was like 60 or I mean, there was a big
Yeah.
distance between eighth and seventh place. They come back, skate first in the free skate. They're repeating the same program as last year. I said this last year that I think that out of any skater or team, they were probably the most improved in any discipline. I was blown away when I saw them at Skate America last year, how much they had improved. I used to be kind of terrified of everything they did too when they were first showing up to
Yeah.
internationals. I really was like, whoa, now everything is so solid, everything beautifully done. Now, the short program was a mess. It was just a total mess. Go to the free skate, though, there was barely anything wrong with that program. I thought the PCS should have been even higher than it was. They were just
Yeah.
under 120. I would have given it definitely higher. I mean, I know they skated first, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and
But
they got low ball to the sixes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But just so good. She has a back when she lands these throw jumps that's like typical of the Russians that we're used to seeing, where it's really extended, it's just beautiful.
Hmm.
So much good quality to everything they do. I really, really like their skating. And it looked like they were on an upwards trajectory last year. They had a slow start to this season. I wasn't, it was a bad short program, but I wasn't that surprised. And then the free skate, just I was shocked, and I was in a very, very good way. It looks like they're back on track.
Yeah, I agree with that. I really like that too. And the program was even just really interesting too. It had like a lot of really interesting moments, especially to me. It's that exit out of that reverse lasso lift. It's like then he sets her down against the curve that they're heading
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, that was so cool. I
Yeah.
really love that. Yeah, so I'm really excited that they had a great skate after that short program. And I actually think they probably should have placed higher, just
Me
considering
too.
that
Me
their
too.
score was lowballed like that. They
Yeah.
should have been in the 120s. They should be in fourth overall instead of fifth, in my opinion.
And you
Fifth,
made
I
a
mean.
note of this.
Yeah.
Fifth instead of sixth. You
Thank you.
made
Fifth
a
instead of
yeah,
six. Thanks.
you made a note of it, but you could hear Chris pounding the table like in excitement that
Yeah,
they
yeah.
landed their last throw because Chris is British, and he knows the coaching team very, very well. So of course he has a soft spot for them, but it was exciting to hear that he was so into it as well. But really so, so good. I wish they had a second event. I think they're like first or second in line to be an alternate. At this point, we're halfway through the series. I highly doubt they get a second event,
Right.
but
And then what the
so
next
good.
two, they necessarily wouldn't even be required to replace someone that withdrew at this point because it's so close, right? It's 2 weeks
I
out.
I think they could go to Skate America hypothetically,
Yeah. It'd
but
be
it would
up
have to
to
be
the
quick.
USFS to even invite them at that
Yeah,
point because they're not
yeah,
required to, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Vuillemo and Bouvard, I want to mention them too from Switzerland. They were in seventh place here. I raved about them at Worlds. I think he has one of the best double axles I've ever seen in my life. It is so big. Their twist is huge. It even kind of took Chris's like he was kind of taken off guard by how high it was. There's so much to like about them. I think their short program was really good. I kind of felt like if they could deliver here, they were maybe in contention for a medal just
Yeah.
based on how Cam and O'Shea were kind of a question mark. Pereira and Michaud, we didn't really know. I thought, if they really deliver, they could step it up because they had a really good score earlier this year. Free skate, as much of a cheerleader as I am for them, the free skate is really a bunch of nothing. It's the Matrix. It's pretty, Matrix programs are always just a kind of vibes and not really any
Yeah.
choreography that has to do with anything. This was pretty empty and they did not have a good skate, but more good than bad. And I think that just give them a little bit longer. They're still relatively a new team. I think that they're going to be way up there eventually.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I don't really have much to add other than that, they did have that one scary moment on the lasso
Oh
lift where
yeah,
he
yeah, yeah,
slipped, but then kept her up,
yeah,
and I was just like, oh, thank God. Like
yeah,
I don't know how he found his balance again after that. It was really
yeah,
scary there for a second, but
yeah,
I think it just kind of speaks to how this wasn't their short program, right? It was almost like this is kind of like the rougher version of
yeah,
whatever skates they have in practice, right? And we just it
yeah,
happened to fall in competition today,
yeah.
so yeah.
All right, so that's it for pairs. We got through that pretty quickly. Let's move on to the women's competition, and we're not going to talk all about the inconsistencies in the judging, but let's start off with your first impressions.
Oh yeah, so Monique Chiba, right, is our winner here. In second, you have Levito, and now she has a second and a fourth, which puts her over any third person for the Grand Prix final. So it does
Yeah.
give her more of a fighting chance. So we'll see if she actually ends up making it.
Hmm.
And then Ami Nakai in third, so that's a little bit of a drop off, right? But there's really clear reasons for that because so much of everything she did was built around that triple axle,
Triple
and they
axle.
just didn't really
Yeah.
hit here. And then Brady Tanel in fourth, and then Larnaki Gutman in fifth. And I don't know, I really appreciate what she's doing this season. I know you're not as into it.
Oh no, 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 it's
And
not that. We'll get into that. We'll get into
okay,
that.
okay,
But
okay.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we'll mention more, but Yuna Aoki in sixth place.
Oh,
So much
oh my
to
God.
gush about.
Yes.
So
Oh
much
my
to
God.
gush about
Yeah.
for her too.
Yeah.
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 But just first, Mone Chiba, I think she's really just showed here like, hey, I'm in this mix too. I want my spot on the Japanese team. I deserved my previous results. This
Hmm.
wasn't a one-off.
Hmm.
I can be that consistent Japanese skater, to take over for Kaori, right?
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed like the short program still. I know she's reusing it, right? I still enjoyed it. I know you're kind of like tired of it, but I really enjoyed it. It was really cute. I know you wanted to see something new, but
Hmm.
I really loved the choreography in it. I felt like it was a really kind of complex program. It wasn't just simple skating from
Oh
element to
yeah.
element. Yeah, and so I really enjoyed it for that, and it's so genuine. All the
Mhm.
interpretation, you really feel it, and to me, it doesn't matter if it feels kiddie or whatever. Like that never really bothers me if you're meeting the
Mhm.
criteria, and to me, she met it. So if anything to me, I'm giving her high eights too, right? Put her skating
Yeah.
skills in the nines.
Oh yeah,
Easy.
yeah. You
Yeah, easy,
you,
easy. I think the long
you
program's terrible though.
yeah. See,
It's because it's that whenever you take like, hey, I'm gonna do Romeo and Juliet, but instead of
different
just
Romeo and
picking
Juliets.
one movie or whatever
Yeah.
soundtrack, I'm gonna pick like a bunch of them.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work for me. It feels
Yeah.
disjointed. It feels like three different programs.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Great
So
skate, just not a fan of the program.
yeah, so the short program, I have nothing wrong with it. I liked it last year. I think that there's moments of really nice skating and it comes through. And I think she definitely has shown that she is right behind Corey as far as Japanese women's skating goes. I think it would take a lot to get her off of the Olympic team, even though there's
Yeah,
so many skaters that could potentially do that. And then the free skate, I liked it. It didn't bother me. But one thing that you took note of, and I also took note of, very beginning, she has like a simple push, maybe one crossover, and she's all over the ice already just on that
no,
one thing. And that, if you want to see what skating skills is comprised of and what we're talking about when we say the skating skills are there, you see how she gets that crunch of the blade, and she even gets even faster just off minimal kind of
right.
content, as opposed to you see some other skaters that take a million crossovers to get halfway down the ice. This is just a completely different thing. She just has mastery over the blade, and time again we talk about the Japanese skaters having that, and she's
She really
exemplifying
does.
that. Yeah.
And even then, she has it at the end of the long program where
Hmm.
it's so
Everything
impressive
flows.
when the step
Yeah.
sequence, it just flows so well.
Yeah.
She maintains that speed. She holds those long edges, and you see her
Yeah.
use that her body sink into the edge
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
generate that speed
Yeah.
outside the curve. It's so good, right?
Yeah.
And then so many people too, so many skaters, when they get into this choreographic sequence, they really have to go and build up speed,
Hmm.
build. And you can see them, really kind of
Yeah.
like doing all these progressives to get it,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
she just does it right after the step sequence. It feels like it's all one element when
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
two. It's just
Hmm.
so impressive. I literally was like, wow. Like I said this
Yeah.
out loud to myself
Yeah.
as I was just watching. It's the skating is just marvelous. Marvelous, gorgeous, however you want
Right.
to like describe that.
Right.
So good. I
Yeah.
just don't like the program.
Yeah.
I
I
like
mean,
the
it could be.
last third of it. How about
It could be
that?
better. I didn't hate it. I thought it was quite nice. I think just as briefly as I can, I think that some of her calls like that double axle need to be cleaned up, because I think it's just
Yeah.
asking for a panel even on a double axle to under rotate it, which is not good news for her. And then there's
Mhm.
a few other things that were a little bit
And
tight.
they gave her a bunch of cues when they could
Yeah.
have been unders, because I
Yeah.
think she got a bit of a benefit of the doubt here, but at least they were calling them.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I'll give the panel that.
Yeah.
And
Isabel Levito finishing with the silver medal. I can't say anything more than what I've said in France, but I will say,
mm,
okay, so the short program, my feelings on it are I feel like the short program last year is a little bit better than this one. I don't think there's anything wrong with this program. I love the vibe of it. I think it is in her wheelhouse. I think she's found what works for her, and she's stuck to it. Uh just the one thing in her short program is just that combination. That is the one thing about her skating in general, even in the free skate. It's just that combination. Yes, she got calls in other places, but going into it, she wobbles from inside, outside, and sometimes it's the opposite, and sometimes it's on a flat, and there's just no set technique into this jump,
right.
and that lends itself to being called edge or the exclamation point or whatever. It's just asking for it to be kind of magnified every time she does it. Now, free skate, I know you're going to go all into how you love the short program, but just really quickly, for me, the free skate, I think that this is a masterpiece. I said
Yeah,
it in
it's
France.
good.
I
Yeah.
love it. It flies
Mhm.
by for me. I think it's beautifully choreographed. I think she's second to none, especially when you think of American skaters. You don't really think, oh, the skating skills are. We think of Japanese skaters and we're just like, they better have good skating skills or they're going to stand out. But for the American skaters, it's kind of the opposite. When they have such strong skating skills and that flow across the ice, it stands out in a good way because it's not as common. I think she is just a master of
Yeah.
getting around the ice and the smoothness and just the flow and everything about the program to me is gorgeous. I said in France, I think that her PCS should easily be in the nines, and it actually was here. I think that's where it needs to be all year. I mean, of course, if she makes mistakes, it's going to drop it down. If she falls, blah blah blah. But if she gets through the program well, this is a 9.0 program, probably across the board. I would say even the choreography could be even a little bit higher than that. That's how good I think this program is.
I agree with you that, yeah, I know we greatly disagree on the short program in this, whereas
Hmm.
I instantly fell in love with it. I loved
Hmm.
how rhythmic it is, especially when she gets the step sequence
Hmm.
and it's just zooby zooby zoo, and you can just feel that da da da, and her body is
Yeah,
just
yeah,
rhythmically going up and down with the music. It's
yeah.
perfect to me. And so maybe it feels a little cold to you, even if you could acknowledge just how perfect
Hmm.
for her it is.
Hmm.
I love it.
Hmm.
But I totally agree with you with the long program. Like you're saying, it's like maybe aside from when she's doing the flip and the Lutz, it's
Hmm.
so easy to just sit back and watch it.
Hmm.
Whereas I feel like with almost any other skater, I still sit there and I scrutinize. I'm still being analytical with my head. But like right after that final Lutz, like I just kind of stop paying
Hmm.
attention in that
Hmm.
level, you know?
Hmm.
Like that choreographic sequence is so good. And
Hmm.
I really do feel like it's a little subtle, right? It's more
Hmm.
subtle than other people's. It's not as in your face, but it's so, so, so good to me. I'm hitting +5. I don't know how a judge only gives that +3. I really don't
Hmm.
understand that. Where's the better one that was in the field today? Like
Yeah.
there wasn't one, you know? So I don't know. I could gush about her all day too. But I will
Well,
say though, like I think, hmm?
I was gonna just say the one thing that this competition showed, she had a fourth place in France, but her score was so high. It's not that she
Yeah,
didn't skate well; it was high. So she does, seeing how the men skated t today and how skaters that were potentially in it for the final are now not because of one
yeah.
good event. One we don't know. Isabeau might be in there for the final, but I will say I think that this competition, especially we'll talk about Sarah Everhart in a little bit, but being head to head with her, she was one of the main challengers, and even Brady Tennell to an extent. These are the five really kind of fighting for an Olympic spot. I think it's basically a
It's
done
set.
deal.
I don't,
It's a
it's a
done
set. It's
deal.
set. I don't see where there's an argument to send anyone other than, Alyssa, Isabeau, and Amber. Those are the
Yeah,
three. There's no one who's really shown that they deserve the spot above them,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Especially with the results so far.
yeah.
Um, yeah, just the one thing too, I just want to say that like I see that her Lutz did not get an edge call, which I don't agree with,
Because
right? That's the
it's
one
that
thing. Yeah.
uncertainty.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Her flipping Lutz should always be getting an exclamation, regardless, right?
yeah.
And only whether it's an exclamation or an E for a
Hmm.
clear wrong takeoff edge,
Hmm.
not whether or not it's on the wrong edge,
Yeah.
right? Or
Yeah.
unclear
Yeah.
edge. Other than that, again, really great. And I totally agree with you about the U.S. women's Olympic team.
Yeah, just cancel that 5 or 10 minutes you need on that Sunday of nationals because they're making Sunday like the Olympic announcement show. We already know what it's going to be. I mean, it's going to
Like for
take
real.
something massive to not end up being those two.
Yeah, any one of those three could not even bother going to nationals and still get named the team, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Like there's
yeah,
it's set, it's done.
yeah. So
Anyway,
let's move on to Ami Nakai. She won in France, surprisingly.
yeah.
This week, much less effective. She really needs that triple axel, and she really needs that excitement of big jump and that happiness to shine through. Now, it was not a bad competition for her. Just,
Yeah.
so much stake is put on this triple axel when you do it so well in your first competition. The one in the short program she did in France was so beautiful. Here, not even. I mean, she rotated in the short program, the free skate just all over in the place in the
Yeah,
air,
she
came down as a
yeah.
double.
Hmm.
Yeah. But there's so much expression with her still. She's a breath of fresh air. It's kind of like she's just so excited to be there, and we don't see that so much anymore. She has this big beaming smile on her face every time she does land a jump, and just getting through the choreography, it's like fun for her. And she's another one. The basics really shine through. She's a good foundational skater. Um, I still don't understand the dress for the short program. I still think it looks like she rolled around in the sand and half of her body's like
Whereas I don't even think about it. I
I don't
literally
even know what
don't
it
even think
is.
about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to take points off her. I feel
Of
like some
course,
people are very like, "Huh, it ruins the program for me because the costume is bad." No, I don't care about that. I just don't understand what the story is behind that at all. Free skate. Now, we said the same thing in France. I think we both said it, but this is a very junior-esque looking program. All the way down to the music choice to me is just kind of like, I don't really
yeah.
get into it so much, but there's just so much to like anyways that I
The
can't
skating's still
doubt
good.
that.
It's
Yeah,
it's still got great transitions in it. It's not just some empty program like you're seeing
right.
from a lot of like the competition
Yeah,
in general.
yeah,
Like it's still
yeah,
really good. So even if the theme or the way she performs it comes off as junior for me, like that doesn't bother me at all. I'm still like give her eights.
yeah,
Easy,
yeah,
right? Skating
yeah,
skills in the nines. Like so even her short program when she had those big mistakes, I still felt like she was really undermarked in PCS.
yeah.
Like there were judges giving her skating skills in the sevens, and I'm like, are you not watching this
Right.
like we are?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I don't get that at all. Like this is to
yeah.
me easily eight minimum in skating skills of
Hmm.
anything. I'm going to high eights, even in the
Hmm.
short program, with those big errors. Because she's
Yeah,
just displaying a level of skill that you again you do not see from the majority of the field.
yeah. Well,
Mhm.
one thing I also want to mention, because she has a first and a third, a
Oh, she's
second
in.
and a second will not beat her in the standings because the first place will override that. And since there are only a possible six people that can win in any given season because there's six events, she is mathematically 100% a lock to make it to the Grand Prix
Yep.
final. Six women cannot pass her. She will be there. So,
And she's
depending
the
on it,
first
that
one,
could help.
right?
Yeah, she's the first of the women
Yeah.
that's confirmed. So she's in. And she skates at home. So, that's I know in the past they've used the Grand Prix final as kind of a big deal as far as Olympic spots. I'm sure we have a potential of getting four, maybe five, if it's really crazy day, women into the Grand Prix final. So I don't think it could be considered all that important, but I do think her getting in will help her case if she were to have a
A
really
bad
standout
nationals.
skate at nationals. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It just depends on who else qualifies because it really could be like last year where it's Amber and five Japanese women. So we'll see. Um, Next was, kind of surprisingly, I don't know, Brady Tennell. So for me, I think her peak year was 2019, 2020, which was cut short by COVID. She was at the Grand Prix final. I feel like she was maybe fifth there, but she was skating really well all season. She had, for me, a really cool short program that year. I just feel like her comeback has been she's not doing anything wrong. I just feel like her lack of really good skating skills and
Yep.
speed and kind of flow all through the ice, especially in a competition with the Japanese skaters and even with Isabeau, it just really stands out. Her short program is so much better this year than it was last year. That Lord of the Dance, that marching in place kind of thing, whatever she was doing, terrible. I noticed she really suffers usually on her step sequences, and it's not a surprise to me
Yeah.
because it's really not an easy element for her, and I just don't think she has the basics to kind of back it up. I saw her in practice at Skate America last year, and it even kind of stood out to me there where I was like, she's really choppy. It's just not as effortless as most other elite skaters. So
Mhm.
that's that. And then the free skate, we go back to the mission. Um, I don't know. She uses really big music. Last year it was Turando, which I'm usually a sucker for every Turando program. I'm like, oh, it brings out the biggest artists and everyone. I was kind of indifferent to her program last year. The mission we've already gone
Same.
over in pairs. How it's always a program that I like, and now with this, I'm like, it's all right. It's not.
Yeah, I don't really like this normal vibe that she's going for the last few seasons. I
Yeah,
really liked it when she was doing like the Benoit quirky, and maybe
yeah, yeah,
we weren't grateful for those programs when they
yeah.
would
Oh
get
no, I
out.
was
We
because
got
I
them.
liked it. I
Oh,
like
okay,
them.
okay. I think I was
Yeah,
one of the people complaining about them. I'm like, no, no, please
yeah.
go back, right? Like that is my mistake. I didn't know what we were getting instead. But yeah, I can totally see that too. And I was thinking back to just when she first burst out into the scene, right? Like I can still hear Tara being like, she doesn't miss, right? And it was that consistency,
Yeah.
especially relative to the US women at the time, that really
Hmm.
made her stand out. And now she doesn't have that consistency.
Yeah.
And she has greater competition. She has basically, if you look at all the main competitions, someone does something better than she does.
Yeah.
Someone's more consistent. Someone has the better tech content. Someone has
Yeah.
the better skating skills, the more
Hmm.
difficult programs. So
Hmm.
like she's not doing anything really
Uh,
like where she's the best one and
yeah.
really standing out.
I will say I think she's always had the I remember when everyone was touting her like in 2018 is like, oh, her jumps are so clean. She doesn't under rotate. She has such a good but no, like there's
No.
always been issues with it. And I think that her Let's Toe, I go back to how Ashley Wagner started to do her triple attempts. She would really kind of twist her body into the toe loop. It was all over the place. It would usually come down short. I referenced at the
Mhm.
very beginning of this video, if you're looking at kind of the bad calls that we had in the short program. Her triple toe was a half of a turn short. And I mean, I don't even know what it got called. It's probably
He'll call it under.
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 Oh, so it
And
got
looks
called under
cute.
at least. Yeah, so at least they did something. But I mean, it was really, really short. And I feel like that's just kind of built into the technique, how she does the jump, because she's all twisted. She really kind of twists around to get into that toe loop. I think that I'm very, very happy with the way she's been able to come back. Yeah, that really good skate at Four Continents last year. I just don't think, I really think that the door is kind of shut on the US women as far as it
I
goes.
I
And
agree with you. It
she'll be
really
there in
takes like
fourth or fifth.
somebody just, getting injured and being totally out of the Olympics for
Yeah.
a spot to open up at this point. So I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Larnaki Gutman. So last year we raved about Squid Game. She had a psycho problem, a psycho problem, a psycho program in the
We have all got
past.
psycho problems. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I'm talking about myself. I don't know. So she had a psycho program in the past. That was kind of tame, honestly. The music was more exciting than the program.
Yeah.
Squid Game was cool too. The thing that I'm getting at with her is so she has Jaws for the free skate. At least for the first minute and a half, 2 minutes, it's Jaws. Then it goes into Inception and some other stuff. But the idea of it is like 80% there, I would say. I just don't feel like she ever fully realizes like the weird in what she's trying to go for, and she doesn't like
Oh,
fully go into
you
it, you know?
don't think she has an
No,
awareness of it? You
I
think
don't
there's
know.
like,
I don't know if there's like holding back because she's shy or what, but like these
oh,
programs
okay.
are weird. Just go, they're clearly
I would
weird, you
agree.
know? Go
Lean into
all
it.
the way out with it.
Lean
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
kitsch and how strange things can be.
yeah,
Like, because like when she's doing those fin hands,
yeah,
which I loved, but I don't know
yeah,
about you.
yeah,
Do more of that, right? And
yeah,
then at the end, I really love where she's reaching out, almost like she's reaching out for help because like
yeah,
Jaws is attacking. I
yeah,
love the
yeah,
way the program ends. But yeah, I would agree with you. Generally, she could really kind of amp up kind of like that camp factor
yeah.
because she's picking campy themes.
Right.
Yeah.
And you
Hmm.
know, I referenced the skater when we were watching this, Cheng Li from China. He was the skater with, they gave him River Dance that really he just kind of skated through and the vibe was whatever. But then he got this Star Wars program. I think it was Lori Nickel,
It
and
was
she
Lori.
just put
Yeah.
in these she put in these nuances throughout the program. Like he does this spiral with his arms reaching out, and he does these like fingers behind
Hmm.
his head mid program, just like little nuances like that. But it really turned him into kind of a fun skater from someone that was just listless. And I feel like Lara, knowing she's going into this weird, just go all the way into it. Just not like not the shy or timid kind of approach that I think she has. That being said, short program was
Loved.
so good. I was
Yeah.
so happy that they gave her the scores that they did. I felt like at that point in the competition, I made a comment she should be in first place in my opinion, and she did get put into first at that point. The free skate got away from her a little bit. She last year, I don't know if you remember at Finlandia, she was 1 point away from winning the competition. She
Oh, I
literally was
forgot.
yeah, she won
Oh
bronze. It
wow.
was that close, but I think it was like 9/10 of a point away from the gold medal. So I think if she delivers, the judges will completely go with her because she's just so different than what everyone else
Mhm.
offers right now. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, they
finishing
gave her
fifth here.
PCS in the eights, even for
Yeah,
the bit of a mess of the
yeah,
free skate, and that's
yeah,
really good,
yeah,
especially for like these European skater where you're not really
mhm,
kind of expecting those
yeah,
PCS. You're expecting it from the Japanese and
yeah.
the Americans at this point, right? No, I was really impressed. I think we're both fans. I think we've been fans for a while, and I love seeing that too. That she really is connecting with like a bigger audience out there of
Hmm.
like of skating fandom.
Hmm.
I think she has a lot of fans now in
Yeah.
the skating fandom. I really hope she knows how popular she is.
I hope she does too. She's just
Yeah.
so different. We're so used to these like vibey, weird, voidy skaters
Mhm.
that we saw in the 90s. And then it kind of just went away. We didn't see so much of that. So she's like refreshing in the way that she's going for something weird. Just embrace it all the way because you're weird, just
I know, right,
do
right,
it.
right, right, right.
Yeah.
Do the weird. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So now I just want to spend like who knows how long, but Aoki, just wow. I mean, the most glorious skater. I really think probably out of all the women competing, she just, when I'm thinking about the perfect, what I would want to see in a skater, we're gonna not consider the jump rotation so much, but when I'm talking about the foundations of the skating and the overall package and the choreography and the way she uses her arms and her body and the
Yeah.
effortlessness, Yuna Aoki is that woman, 100%.
Literally just, and even if you don't want to watch the program, if you haven't watched it, fast forward to her step sequence.
Yeah,
That says everything to me in both, programs. Like, it's just so good. Totally agree with you.
yeah.
You can just see her riding these edges and these curves with such stability. She has such great body control with them too. And the edges never wobbling, never.
Hmm.
Right?
Yep.
I don't know how she does it, like, because you even see that with her competition. Kaori does it. Kaori has nowhere near this level of control.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
even if she's skating lights out, light fast, you still see that bit of a wobble on her edge, right?
Yeah.
As she's
Yeah.
trying to like,
Hold an
right.
edge.
Hold
Yeah.
the edge. Thank you. Oh my
Yeah.
God, my
Yeah.
brain. Such a long weekend of skating again. So again, just so good, and she's emotive with her body, and it's so hard for skaters to really do that. But it's full body interpretation, highs, lows, getting into these different planes in the step sequence too.
Mhm.
So massively impressive. So impressed. I just
I just
again,
when you can use when I think that's just the number one sign for me of wow is when that full body involvement can be all over the place and that edge still is as strong as it is. You know a skater has such good skating skills when you see something like that. She flies through everything. La La Land, the free skate, I like La La Land. I like the soundtrack. I don't think I'm tired of it yet. It was used quite a bit in the
yeah,
past, but I still like it. One thing I will say, she goes for a triple loop on the end of her combination. And I think that just sets itself up for under rotation or some kind of call just because it's a loop. And we've talked about this with Daniel Grassl trying a quad loop, just the way it's hooked on the landing it's hard unless you've been on the ice and tried to loop. You're going up without any kind of assistance from a toe pick, and you're trying to come down and not curl the edge, and it's so easy to curl the edge on a loop. I
mhm,
feel like she's just asking to be under rotated or even downgraded in the case, but I can't really fault, yeah, some of her other jumps, but really in the PCS, it is insane that she's not scoring in the nines in PCS. I don't care. If she's falling all over the ice, we would be forced to not give her the nines, but if she's not falling all over the ice, she should be in the nines easily. This is
yeah,
what that score this
for
is
real,
what that score is
right?
made for skaters like her. This is what it is.
Like I wrote it here. The composition and skating skills in the sevens is criminal for
Yeah.
her, right? Easily these skating skills again nines even
Yeah.
with a little bit of a messy skate. Like I don't understand this at all. Who's
Yeah.
really showing us this level of skill like this? Nobody.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like even these other skaters with whom we're gushing about their skating skills, like I just so massively impressed. She can fall on all the jumps, still gonna enjoy it.
Yeah. Sarah Everhart finishes seventh, and this is super disappointing for her. I think she was not so happy with her scores. She's another one, much like Brady. When Brady first started skating in senior level, the big thing, I think the talk from NBC, probably Tara and Johnny, is, oh, she rotates her jumps. Like, don't worry about her rotation. This is like the idea that we got from Sarah. Oh, she has big jumps. But
Yeah,
the under rotations and the issues with that also have crept in almost from the start. And then her problem too is she kind of has this. One of her coaches is Tatiana Molina, and Tatiana back in the late 90s, 1998, watched her short program at the Olympics. She stares down at the ice the entire time like she's terrified of any kind of connection to anything.
yeah,
And I feel like Sarah just has not broken out of her shell yet in order to really be able to sell a program, or even more so, understand the choreography to make it her own, as opposed to this kind of paint by number. This is the exact order of the movements I have to do with
exactly.
my
Yeah,
body.
yeah, and that's what it
Yeah.
feels like. Where I wrote a note here, and it was honestly being a little bit snarky, but I also think there's some truth to it, to where they're almost doing this doll program, right? And it kind of
Yeah.
fits with that her style of
Yeah.
expression,
Yeah.
aka it's just
Yeah.
mostly vacant. And I
Yeah.
totally know what you mean. It's like skate by numbers, move your hand to this position here at
Yeah.
this point. Nothing's happening in the face. I feel just there's no feeling at all. There's no interpretation of the music happening. And
Mhm.
so even here, her PCS in the sevens, and I'm like, this is a gift. This was a huge PCS gift. I'm
100%.
like
Yeah.
fives and sixes.
Yeah.
Like skating skills, sure, keep it up there, but
Yeah.
composition, presentation should be down there.
You just
Like
gave yourself thumbs down on your own
I
comment, it
did.
looks like.
Oh,
Yeah,
why is this
apparently.
on? I don't know.
Well,
We're millennials trying to Zoom, so we're like
but
figuring
I,
this
I
out.
I agree. Like the composition, yeah, you have to ding that a little bit, but it's the presentation for me that's just not there. It is a little bit better than last year. Last year was just completely not there at all. I
Yeah.
think she's trying, but I just think like someone or maybe an acting class or something needs to break her out of her shell when she's on the ice because it's all very, this is my job. I'm not really going to look up. I'm not really going to interpret the music as much as just skate to the choreography that I was given. And
Mm,
the free skate is the music is interesting. I think the dress was weird. I don't know the story behind, the program, but
Higher.
for her, just because knowing that she's like known for this technical kind of whatever, it was just an interesting choice. I think I could see myself liking it. She just needs to invest herself more in
Right,
it.
you know what I mean? Like it has this level of quirk to it that again,
Yeah.
this is weird enough that we're gonna like it. It's different enough that we're gonna like it. It's just we just didn't because the delivery was just not there at all. Yeah, totally
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, other than that, I mean the Canadians found themselves basically at the very
Yeah.
bottom. Madeline had a terrible, terrible short program. Came back okay in the free skate. Sarah Mal Dupuis is an interesting one. I think that, she tried triple axel. It was rotated. She
It's worth it,
had a
yeah.
big step out of it. I've seen that she's landed it clean in practice. I think that this was her golden opportunity to really get
Really,
ahead
yeah.
of Madeline again because she's done it 2 out of the last 3 years at Four Continents, but she
I
fell
felt the hype
apart.
too. I don't know about you,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
during that warm up and watching it, and then she does it in the warm up, like I felt that hype. I got really excited for her to get this
Me
triple
too.
axel. I wanted her to land it. I was just
Yeah.
like, yeah, because like you're saying, this is her opportunity to go in there and be like, no,
Yeah.
I want this Olympic spot.
Yeah, yeah.
And it didn't hit. And then once she missed that triple axel, the program
Everything.
fell away.
Everything. Yeah.
And that's always the risk, right? And to me, that I think it's a Lutz right after the axle which where
Mm,
jump comes right after, right? You could just tell it was happening too soon. There was almost no time
no
if you
time
make
to think about it. Yeah.
yeah, if you make a mistake on this axle to then reset yourself.
Yeah.
It's like less than 5 seconds or something that
Yeah.
transpires in between the two
Yeah.
jumps. So I think that's just kind of a poor choice in terms of like construction of the program because
Hmm.
you should be building in, hey, what if I mess up this triple axle?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Eh,
Morai Nagasu did a great job with that in her Olympic year of planning for that mistake in the triple axle.
well, she
She only
also
hit it the one
didn't
time at the Olympics, right? So
she, but she also didn't have that much choreography. But
I mean,
anyways,
fair,
one
fair.
thing one thing
Yes.
I do want to say though is her short program. It's Madonna, and I feel like it's what Luna Hendricks would like to do with Madonna because it was just so kooky.
Yeah.
It actually had some good choreography, but a lot of it was like her head going like this or like her arms going like this. But she kept the character throughout. It was kind of a sloppy
Yeah,
choreography
it was
because
weird.
of
Like,
that.
I was like, what is this program? It's definitely weird, but endearingly so.
Yeah,
It's like you really
yeah,
liked whatever she was doing. You didn't quite get
yeah.
it, but I still you're just like, oh, but I'm here for it. The one criticism I will have, even though I really enjoyed the short program a lot, I
Mm-hmm.
kind of thought she was undermarked a little bit. Is that she'd be performing, she'd be so into it, and then all of a sudden her face would just go vacant because she's
Yeah,
concentrating on something, concentrating on this
yeah,
turn,
yeah,
making sure she doesn't like mess something up, right? But then
yeah.
it's back. So it was very in and out, and that's just the one thing I criticism I had. But other than that, it was great. Loved it.
All right, moving on to the men's competition. Ilya Malinin ran away with this competition. We saw also, just really quickly, we saw kind of questionable calls with the technical panel. I'm fairly certain it's the
Yeah.
same panel. It usually is between the men and the women, so that kind of explains that. Um, I'm gonna let you start with Ilya because there's no doubt this is one of his all-time very, very good skates. I just want to know
Yeah.
what you think, though.
Like program overall.
For both,
Um,
yeah,
I mean, I still love the short program, right? I just love it. Again, I think it's one of these things where intellectually, I just again I shouldn't because it's so just campy, but in a very kind of like stereotypical way. But it's just the way again
hmm
he performs everything, right? And it feels
yeah,
really into it. I think the long program was really good, but it still leaves me really cold. I don't know about
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Yeah, but it's one of these things to where it's like, oh, really impressive. And I feel like the ending's really set up really well to have this triumph. And that's what it feels like. It feels like this is a triumph.
hmm
Um, I just felt like the choreographic sequence leading up to the final spin just was missing that little bit of extra. Like
hmm
he was just going
hmm
through the motions. And then he didn't have the raspberry twist in the final combination spin, right? When
hmm
he was changing feet, like he
hmm
did when we
hmm
saw him at GP France. So
yeah.
it's just missing that. But other than that, it was really good. I don't see how anyone catches up to him at this point. And it was really funny when we'd watched this program before and he does the triple loop. I was literally like, is he gonna alter this? Because there's almost like not enough time to set up for this triple loop. And
Yeah,
it's like, no, he didn't need it. He didn't need it.
yeah,
Because it's this literally the same setup instead of just
yeah.
instead of the triple, he's doing this quad. And I was like, oh, is this oh my God, it is. And so
hmm
it's just really impressive from a technical standpoint. But I don't enjoy this long program at all. It's probably one of my least favorite long programs of his, if not the my least favorite, like the lowest of all of
Yeah,
them. Like I enjoyed Euphoria more,
yeah.
even.
Short program, first half, I love the transitions into the first two jump elements. I think it's good for him as a whole. I still like the short program a little bit better from last year. I think that he was so into that program. I'm not 100% getting it this year, but at least he's showing glimpses of difficult choreography in that first half of the program. Now, we talked about Yuna Aoki and how the PCS is made for a skater like her. The thing is, for Elia, the TES is made for a skater like him.
Mhm.
He can run away with all these quad jumps. He does them effortlessly. I would argue that maybe the GOE for some of them is a little bit high just comparatively. Like, should you be throwing out the highest GOE for some of these jumps? Not necessarily, but he is improving the run out. He's improving the flow between
He
them, and
is. Yeah,
he's
that's been really impressive too. You know, it was
yeah.
always my criticism to where he had these great jumps, but they never land with a lot of speed, right? They
Mhm.
never land with a lot of flow out. And
Yeah.
I that was the biggest contrast
Mhm.
between Ilya and Yuma.
Yeah.
Whereas Ilya's been really cleaning it up,
Yeah.
really impressive, especially when he does that first quad lutz, to where then
Mhm.
he just puts his body
Oh
horizontal,
yeah, he
reaches his
leans into it.
arm and
Yeah,
leg out
yeah.
and extends out
Yeah.
and performs to the music with it.
Yep.
Now, I do kind of think that quad lutz deserved a call. Like, in my
Yeah.
opinion, it looked cute
Yeah.
to me, if not
Yeah.
under, but whatever. He's still gonna win massively.
Yeah.
The score is crazy. I think it was a world record score, says skating scores, because I was wondering when that came up, what was Nathan's highest?
Yeah.
This is the highest free program score, right,
Yeah.
in the history of IJS at 228.97. So there's only up from here. He's going for that program that's literally like almost all quads.
Hmm.
And if he adds that quad axle, it is all quads
Yeah.
at that point, which is
Yeah.
insane.
So
Insane. Never thought I would see this so soon. I thought it was like 10 years away minimum, you
yeah,
know?
no, no, even longer. But the thing is, I don't want to say I'm kind of bored, but it's like expected now that he's going to do all these
I
quads.
know, it
So I
really
just
is.
want something with the PCS. I just want something to be there. And unfortunately, there is not. If we're real talking to this free skate, there is nothing going on with it. The PCS, like I said, give him all
Yeah.
the TES in the world. What was it, like 132 or some crazy amount? Like he's going to run away with the competition regardless. Like you could give him like a 40 in PCS in the free state skate and he's still going to win the free skate, so just be a little bit more realistic with what he's putting out there. Personally, I don't have any. I get a feeling from the excitement of doing these jumps, especially like throwing the triple axle onto the end of a quad, stuff like that. That's exciting, but is that really what they're asking for in skating skills or presentation or the choreography? No, the choreography mark should be low. I think it should be lower than it even was last year. And last year, I'm saying like maybe 8.0 maximum. So this is never going to happen. I know it's never going to happen,
Yeah.
but I think his PCS, when it's all balanced out, I would argue that he's not even a 9.0 skating skills skater. So when you're balancing all this stuff out, he's probably right around an 8 average for me. Now, what did he get today? Like 90 and some change or something, which is usually, he's at 90, 91, 92. Typically, that's where his PCS is at. It's way too high. I don't. Everyone can argue all they want about all these big jumps and how it has to mean he's a good skater or whatever. But the thing is, the program just isn't there. There's not
I
a
agree with
complete
you.
program there, and there's
Yep.
not and if you're going to give him all these crazy GOEs, you don't need to go overboard with the PCS. But we already know. We already know as longtime fans, big jumps equal PCS. So he's going to run away with it. He's going to keep getting those scores. It hasn't changed in the last few years. I just wish it would be more reflective of what he's actually doing. Um,
Right.
but he's doing what he needs to do, and he's easily going to run away with the Olympics, even if he's at like 80% of what he was at today, because there's no one that's going to catch him. It's just not possible.
It's just not because the competition really hasn't stepped it up. You saw Yumo for a little bit was trying. He was trying to learn the quad lutz, incorporate the quad loop, but then he got injured. And I feel like since then his team has just been like, you know what, maybe this isn't worth it
Hmm.
because we're just not getting that consistency with it.
Yeah,
And yeah, I feel like everyone else is now just aiming to be on the podium. No one's really aiming to displace Ilya because I just don't see how
yeah,
that's possible. He's just
yeah,
you said, such an advantage.
yeah.
And I agree with you on the PCS. They are too high for what he's really giving us out there.
Hmm.
And only even one judge dared to put him second in any PCS category, and it was the French judge in the long program.
And I will say, I mean, we'll get into it when we get to these skaters, but there's a few other skaters where I would argue, even if they have a bad skating day, there's still so much more that they're offering
Mhm.
in the program that it should be higher regardless. But anyway, so he wins. He wins by a massive amount. I mean, he's in the Grand Prix final. Obviously, he has two wins. He's the first man that has qualified. We see in second place a surprise, Alexander Slevko from Estonia. This is actually his only event. I think he's first alternate now, but again, he's in a situation where unless someone
Okay.
withdraws in the next few days, he's not getting a second event and he is stuck at 13 points. I mean, realistically, I guess his
Wow.
brother could withdraw from his second event and give him that benefit, but I don't think that's going to happen. So short programs to kiss by Prince. It is a vibe, it's fun, it's a step up. I feel like he's having fun with it. There's a lot of cool stuff in it. I remember when he had that Europeans silver medal, he had a really good short program there too. He can sell it when he's on. I feel like when he's not on, it kind of gets a little bit, but he was really on in the short program. It was good. The free skate though, so this is another case of really not a lot going on for me, really at all. I mean, it's just basically jump entry, telegraphing, going into everything. I think the most interesting thing about the program might have been him banging his fist on the boards right in front of the camera that they had centered in the ice. But the music for me is actually very interesting. It kind of is a nod to these '90s soundtracks that we saw Stoico and Eldridge and
Mhm.
even Yagudin at one point. Just they would use all these. It was kind of like that epic trailer music, if you will, whatever you want to call it. That's what it kind of felt like, and I feel like the program could have built really, really well, but just as is with the lack of choreography, it just kind of fell flat for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love the short program so much. Remember being so surprised by it. Like I didn't expect to really enjoy it all that much. It felt like, oh, it's good, another Prince program. Someone's just gonna do
Hmm.
something just kind of like playing to it. They're just going to let the music interpret it for them. But no, he was
Hmm.
really into it.
Hmm.
It was just really good. He had the whole like swag with it too, which I really
Hmm.
enjoyed. He's using his whole body to perform. And it's such a contrast to the long program, which is again, like you were like, it's a bunch of nothing. And that's what it is. It's just a bunch of nothing. There's like no transitions, there's barely any choreography until the end of the program. It's just really strange, when skaters have this, where you can see they know how to sell a program. They know to skate a
Hmm.
program that
Hmm.
is just more than the rest, right? That really
Yeah,
can set them apart. And then I just don't get what happened with the long. Other than that, the whole
yeah,
goal is just to land the jumps and that's it, and then perform for the last minute, and that's done. And
yeah.
and maybe that's just the trend of where men's skating is headed. Ever since Nathan kind of started that, to where you don't really need a program for the first half as long as you hit all the jumps and you have a great
Choreographic sequence.
choreographic
Yeah,
sequence at the
yep,
end.
that's it. That's it.
Yep.
Yep,
And
yep,
that's what we are. Everyone's doing it. It's just until the judges care or until the jumps don't matter as much. It's just it's how it's going to be, I think.
yeah. Kalmura,
Yeah.
surprisingly, bronze medalist here. He went from I don't know, he was third or fourth or fifth or something in France in the short program. Then he was last in the free skate, I believe. Just a disaster there. So got
Yeah.
no points, literally got no points from that event. Now with his bronze medal here, there's no chance for him to make the Grand Prix final. So this was just kind of stopping someone else from earning points. So short program, it's to Woodkid. I like this program a lot. I think I've mentioned if you're looking at who I really like in men's skating these days, it's Yuma, Kevin, and probably Cow is right up there too as one of my absolute favorites. Just it's frustrating with Kevin and Cow because it's like typically one competition will be really good or one segment of one competition will be good and then the other one is not so good. He was pretty lucky here, I feel like, because the free skate he went back to the Umbrellas of Cherbourg, which is his third free skate this year, basically, because he had two free skates choreographed. We never saw Phantom of the Opera. We saw a
I'm
different
okay with
free
that.
skate. Yeah, yeah. We saw a different free skate in France when he fell apart. So then he went back to his program from last year here. If he was going to repeat a program, personally, I wish he would have gone to Beauty and the Beast because I
I was gonna
really
say
loved
that
that
Beauty and the
program.
Beast because that was
Yeah,
such a moment. Yeah, even though
yeah.
like the Junior Worlds and Four Continents versions are so
Oh
different.
no, no,
One,
no. The Junior Worlds one is trash, but
yeah, it's
that was
hack job.
Junior. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
they had to what randomly cut out 30 seconds to
30
still try to make
seconds.
the
Yeah,
program fit, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Still so good though. Like, I agree with you. I really like the short program. I wish he kept Last Samurai because you could see to where this program could become such a great
Hmm.
vehicle for him, and he just yeah, he's going back to something that just felt more comfortable. I totally get it. You could see that here. That his skate was so much better, especially after that disaster. So I'm glad he medaled, even if he has no chance of making the Grand Prix final.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just as far as much as he fell apart at the end, I was kind of like, I don't know if he should have been a medalist, and I'll talk about
Mm,
why with the next skater. Um,
yeah.
but I mean, I'm happy that he's back on the podium. I just feel like he's so wildly inconsistent. I talk about Skate America all the time with him last year, but he literally in practice last year was so miserable, falling on everything. Triple axels were nowhere. He was slamming on the ice. It looked like he was sick or like injured or just over it, and like he was going. I was sure he was going to withdraw, and then he goes and skates basically two clean programs in that competition, and then he bombs his next free skate in his next Grand Prix, so he's out of the final because of that too. So it's just always up and down with him. I think this was more sloppy than not, but he ended up on the podium. Now, right behind him, Kazuki Tomono, Love, love, love both of his programs. Short program is so cool, and we're used to kind of seeing from him the a more like modern, fun vibe, I think, in one of the programs, and this year it's in the short. It's Sophie Tucker. It's super cool. I loved the vibe of it. I think he's a strong skater. The choreography is always strong.
Yeah,
The PCS is where I have an issue with both programs, and I can talk about
like
the
too
free skate.
low.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's why I'm thinking,
100%.
Kao is probably given a little bit of a benefit here because I think, Kazuki is really a very good skater, and I think his free skate, I will rave about this program until the end of time. It is probably very hit or
So,
miss for most people because it's all one note
but
and it's just mostly piano. But for me, oh my God,
exactly. Okay, and so a lot of people will say it's like, derisively that like, hey, it's really easy to skate to something that has just so few notes and just
hmm
kind of like is
hmm
empty, right? And I'm like, actually no, because that
hmm
requires you to fill that
timing.
space.
Yeah.
You have your timing has to be perfect, and then
hmm
you as a skater have to fill the space the music is leaving for you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's music out there that's way bigger that kind of fills all that space, right? And maybe can
hmm
overcrowd you, but this is like, no, it
Yeah.
exposes you. And so I agree with you. I think this long program is totally brilliant. I could watch it again. Out jump list, end of time,
Yeah.
so good. But I really love the short program too. It was
Yeah.
so just, I would have like
Modern.
bring the weird vibes, right? Bring the weird vibes. And he's bringing what so many of these rhythm dances and ice dance are missing, that
hmm
weirdness of that like 90s vibe that you really
hmm
want. I don't even know if this track is 90s. I have no idea.
No, Sophie Tucker's modern. Like
Oh,
this
see,
song
I don't
probably
know.
came out in the last few years.
Okay, see, but like whatever he's doing is what I really want to see more in ice dance.
Yeah.
But we're gonna say that a lot this year. So
Yeah. I'm checking to see when the song came out. 2018. Yeah.
oh,
This
I'm
is
so
a
I'm so out of touch, man. I'm so out of
yeah.
touch. I'm reminded of this all the time.
Yeah, so I really, really like his skating. I was hoping he could hold on for a medal, but he really kind of let it go in the free skate.
Yeah.
Two big mistakes. I still think he was way underscored in PCS. Especially, I know he had two falls. Obviously, there's a cap on his PCS, but if you're looking, especially like compared to Elia, he has so much more going on in his programs, and I think that should be reflected. But it's just simply not. I mean, falls are one thing, but you can't say like all of his PCS need to be tremendously dumped because of that, because the program itself still holds up, and there's still so much more going on. That is what it is.
Right.
He
And he's bringing
finishes
a
in
level of
fourth.
performance, that no one else in this field really brought.
Yeah.
Nobody in the long program. He's the only one
No.
truly like interpreting this like it's art.
Yeah.
And everyone else is just they're at a skating competition. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan.
Speaking of art, Nika Igadze finishes in fifth place. He's stepped it up so much this year with his choreography. Thank you, Benoit Rochot, I guess. Um, but he's actually trying this year and he's actually
Mhm.
holding some lines. And one of the really nice things, bouncing to the free skate, but the landing of the triple axel, he actually holds and extends, which is really nice. I don't need every single jump to be held and like whatever, but it was nice to see. This is something that we're not used to seeing with him. Um, that said, there are glimpses in both. I think the short program, actually, the short program is good. I like it for him. I think it's pretty good. Free skate, just that choreography at the end. Like what? What is that? It makes him look silly. I feel like he feels
Oh,
silly doing
the
it.
posing in the step sequence where he
The
just does
hip
and sways the
shaking,
hips and then he
yes.
moves on.
They
And
made
yeah,
fun of it in France. Like
like
why? I
we're
don't know.
he
Like
had a good sense of humor about it though, which I think it was really endearing. Like I don't know, like
yeah,
if anything, it's gonna become some to me. I wrote it's gonna be like some weird signature for him to where it's just
yeah.
like, yeah, we're gonna do it, and it's
That's
now
what
the
he's going to be
program
known
highlight.
for. Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
waiting now for this moment for 3 minutes. Like, come
Yeah,
on, let's keep going, get these jumps
yeah,
done.
yeah. But he is so improved from last year because
Yes,
last year he was really, I mean, even since we've seen him on the senior level, it's just been
right.
all jumps, all jumps, all
And
business. Seven
even
jumps
if
in a
he's
row.
and even if he's really not interpreting the music, like his timing's really good. Like if he's
Mhm,
not emotionally there, he's still
mhm.
performing it well.
Yeah.
And he never hits a bad position. His posture is really good. There's nothing that's just like looking at this and I just have this
Mhm.
like moment, right? Outside
Yeah.
from like maybe jump mistakes and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Really great improvement, and he's working really hard to shore up all those weaknesses that he's been criticized for
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And it's because of stuff like this, and you're seeing a greater consistency with his jumps that like Georgia has that big, really great
Bronze.
shot at that
Bronze.
Olympic team medal.
It's there for
It's
their
because of
taking.
someone
It
like
is there.
Prix. It's there.
Yeah.
It's there. Yeah,
So third and fifth for him in the Grand Prix, he is most likely
gonna have
not
to.
making it to the final. But weirder things have happened. We saw the results all over the place here, which could help his cause, but he would need pretty much all over the place results for the next three events as well. Uh, Nikolai Memela from Italy finished right behind him. Now, his big issue, and I think the one thing that we're going to say until the end of the time, is because he's so tall, he's just never going to be able to get into his knees and really have those skating skills that most skaters have. And the panels pick up on that, and they usually have him quite a bit lower than almost everybody else. At first, I was like, I don't know. But, seeing him at Worlds Live and seeing just how he compares to even some of the skaters in this competition, it's like, yeah, it's very glaring that there's not so much going on. It takes a lot more effort to get him around the ice just because of his height, I feel like.
Mhm.
And here, I mean, the jump technique was kind of all over the place. I thought going into the season, it was going to be a very clear, like, Memela and Daniel Grassels, who's like a for sure to the Olympics. I thought it would be
I agree.
those two, but now with the PCS being where it is, and the quad flip which he's trying is not really there, and then the Lutz having problems, and that really is his moneymaker. If he's not landing those, then you really give Matteo Rito, who's more consistent in getting through the programs. I think he really has a chance to sneak in there for the
And
Olympics to go back.
this is the one of the skaters we disagree on. I love Rizzo. You're just like,
No, he's good.
good.
He's good.
Like, exactly. He's good. Where it's like, I love it because he has this
Yeah,
genuine interpretation of the music all the time.
yeah,
He's actually listening to it. And I can feel this sense of feeling
yeah,
to it. I love that Bruno Mars long program he has. You're
yeah,
just like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
eyes. I know.
yeah, yeah.
And this is where Memela, like you're saying, he doesn't have the skating skills to really sell a program. He doesn't. And it really requires him to be completely clean for him and then to have that kind of like dramatic finish he'll do on like
Yeah.
landings of jumps, right? Where he'll extend again his arm and his
Yeah,
leg
yeah,
out. And those are always the highlights for
yeah.
him.
Well,
But
yeah,
even here,
the spins and
yeah,
the steps are always a little bit of a
always.
chore.
But
So,
even with the other skaters who have weak skating skills, they really work really hard to build that speed in the beginning. So at least that first impression is, look, I'm fast. Even if it
mhm.
took me like twice the amount of crossovers to get
All
here
right,
than like
yeah,
a lot of the Japanese skaters, or four times for some people, like it's still a better impression. Memela doesn't even bother.
mm,
Between these opening jumps, he's just so slow. So,
mhm,
so, so slow. And
mhm,
it was really obvious here. And again, when he's not hitting the jumps like you're saying, it's just it doesn't work. And he's
mhm,
having now all these issues with the quad lutz now that he's doing quad flip. But I
mhm.
personally feel like his quad flip looks better than his quad
Yeah,
lutz does
yeah.
because the
He
edge,
was getting edge call anyway, so
yeah,
like
he's
it's
getting an edge
like,
call always on the lutz, right? I always thought it looked like it took off from the inside edge, right? And
mhm,
so some of the calls here were a little like strange to me. I would be giving exclamation or E on every Lutz and
mhm,
flip he does.
mhm.
Yeah, no, this is just not much. And I agree with you. I don't think he's really a favorite for the Olympic team at this point. Again, unless he has a really lenient
He did it
technical
last
penalty.
year. He did it last year, so
Yeah,
he's European silver medalist. So there's a chance he could get it all
there is a
together.
chance.
Yeah,
Yes, but Rizzo was injured too, right?
yeah,
Like, and so was out the later part of last season.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So, talking really quickly, again, the Canadian men finishing lower in the standings here. Roman Sadovsky, by the skin of his teeth, I think by like a quarter of a point, finishes ahead of Steven Gogolev. For
yeah,
me, it's night and day between these two skaters. I
it is.
think Roman is just so much more of a complete skater. Obviously, he has his technical issues. This is what has held him down his entire life. In the short program, he gets through the two big elements, and then Lutz toe is all over the place, and he falls on the toe. Free skate more or less keeps it together. Just the jumps, we're not going to go into like the under rotations and whether we agree or not, but I just feel like most of his jumps were tight here to the point
Yeah,
that they could have been called. Um, but even so, I've said this at Worlds last year, he is stuck at like 77, 78, 79 PCS always. For me, I don't understand what it's going to take to get him into the eights because I feel like he does move so much better. You look at Gogolev, who for me is just not my favorite type of skater. Again, he's very jump oriented, and the second mark kind of goes out the window, especially in the free skate. But then their PCS difference is really not so severe, especially in the short program. I think it was pretty close. I just don't understand what's going to take to get Roman up and beyond because I do feel like he's an eights skater regardless
I agree.
of whether the jumps work or not. So he comes out on top here, but we do have to say,
Yeah.
he looks like he's the favorite for the Olympics, but Keegan Messing is coming back with a few months time of progressing and getting his technical ability back. He probably would be the favorite just because, he can get through most of the triples without a problem, and then his PCS will be, if we're
Like
expecting what it was
eights, usually
before,
like it's
high
been,
eights,
right?
low,
Yeah.
even
Um,
pushing nine. So
Yeah, I agree with you on everything you just said there because Sadovsky only had a 1.5 point advantage on PCS
yeah,
in the short
yeah.
program, which I really disagree with. I don't see
Insane.
how it's only
Insane.
a 1.5. It's insane, right? Exactly. At least five. Um, yeah, I'm with you. I think I want to see Roman at the Olympics, even if
Keegan
everyone
comes
skates
back.
well, right? And even if Keegan comes back and like gets a lot of his jumps back,
Mhm.
he did skate at one competition, I think, right in
And it
Texas.
wasn't so, yeah, I mean, it wasn't so good.
Yeah, that wasn't
Lots
great
of
at all.
pops in the free skate. Yeah. The
But you know,
potential's
like,
there. Yeah.
it's the same thing. You know, Gogolev has his own issues too, to where you just completely absent from the program. It's like you were saying, it's like skate by numbers about Everhart. Gogolev's
Hmm.
very similar. There's just nothing happening. And this, to me, the long program for Gogolev is such a miss. Whereas
Yeah.
I love
Agreed.
Sadovsky, almost kind of like doing a pulled back version. He used to do these really more modern programs, so more fast paced
Hmm.
music, more epic type style. And this is like, no, let me just kind of let my own natural grace and skating skills do the talking here, and I think it works really well. Whereas like Gogolev, when he gets that step sequence for Rock Piano Concerto number two, it's thumbs
Yeah.
upping again. It's just so cringe. It's so bad. He sits there and waits for it to hit that high of the music, and
Hmm.
then it's just like step, step, done.
Hmm.
Like he's just
Hmm.
in his brain. You can see
Hmm.
almost that happening. It
Yeah.
I don't see how you give this anything in the sevens. Or you're the
Yeah.
Canadian judge who gives Gogolev eights and PCS. That's just
Yeah.
absurd. An
Yeah.
absurdity. I'm
Yeah.
in the sixes here. The British
If that.
judge in the
Yeah.
sixes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else we have here? Oh, so yeah, Kevin Amos, who was in fifth in the short, falls to 10th overall. Yeah, 10th. Um, Really quickly, the short program, I feel like the idea is cool. The lake is the first part of the program. It goes on for like 2 minutes and then kind of slapped onto the end is Judas by Lady
Random.
Gaga. I wish it would be more of that if we're going to go that direction, but I do think the lake part, I will say like the intricacy into the quad toe, the kind of
Yeah.
edge work that he does, that makes it almost impossible to gain speed into the quad toe. And he's never had that much speed going into it. But now he's adding this extra layer, which he didn't do the quad toe in the short program. But I'm questioning how easy it really would be for him to do that edge work and then go into the quad toe. But he skated well. He did triple toe, whatever. His PCS was high as it rightfully should have been. Then he gets to the free skate, and it's Bolero. It's the same as 2024 with very minimal change in choreography. I feel like one of the edit in the middle, they like repeated a small section that I don't recall them having do. It's only like a 5 seconds, but it just
Yeah.
loops for a second so that he can get through something. I don't remember that from the old program, but just he gets through the quad toe here, which I thought looked okay. It's always a little bit hooked on the landing, whatever. He gets through the let's toe. So now he's bringing. Ideally, I would assume he's going to try two quads. He said right after the
Yeah.
short program that he had an injury. He couldn't really train for the last few weeks, or maybe I don't know how long it was. He didn't skate that bad, but it was kind of hinting at I'm not at 100%. Then seeing the reaction to falling apart in the free skate, I have a feeling it's a little bit more serious than what the post on Instagram said after the short. I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyways, that being said, I would assume that there's a second quad in there. But since there wasn't a second quad, we miraculously see the loop again that we haven't seen for years. And this is a jump he can really do in his sleep. He does three turns out of it. It's usually so huge.
Yep.
Completely off from the start, falls. That's the beginning of the end for his program. He's the one who had three falls. He popped a Lutz. Um, not really a lot to say here. The program fell really flat. They dropped his PCS. I think even one of his PCS was in the sevens. His skating skills was like just barely above eight when he's typically a whole 10 points higher. If that, I mean, probably even more considering it's Bolero because that used to score really well. But just completely flat here today. He seemed okay with it. Like he had
Yeah,
no
that was
kind of
great. I
reaction.
love that because usually he has a skate like this and he just falls apart, right? He's just emotional, skates well, skates poorly, but this he's again he seems like a good perspective on it. What he did well, he did well.
Yeah.
His skating skills were actually under eight, just under eight.
Oh, they were the ones that were under it? Okay.
7.96. Yeah, in the long program, which again makes sense. He had three falls, got four
Yeah.
points in deductions. Again, wasn't great. But I still love this. I made a note too of just so many skaters in the men's field just jump to jump in like the first four jumps in the long
Hmm.
program, or just again
Hmm.
skating to jump to jump to jump.
Yeah.
He actually stops and performs. He
Yeah.
has
Of course.
choreography.
Yeah.
He has
Yeah.
transitions in
Hmm.
between all these jumps. Showing that you can really do this.
Yeah.
And so like I'm still gonna appreciate him just for that. Even
Yep.
in 11th place skate, I still enjoy it a lot more than those placed above him.
100% more than Elia. I'm sorry to say it,
Yeah,
but like give Elia the credit for what he does well. give Kevin the credit for what he does well. He's falling all over the ice. You can't give him the TES, but that's he still has a program behind it. And yes, it fell a little flat today, so drop it down a little bit. But there's more going on in this program than what Ilia's
And did
able
you
to do.
hear him yell out at the end of the
He
choreographic
always did that.
sequence?
He
He
did that.
always
He did
did
that
it.
last
Oh,
year,
you just actually
2 years
heard it
ago.
now on
Yeah,
the TV end.
I
Okay,
think
okay.
so. I because he always
That was
got
a
right up
really
in Johnny's
I
faces
loved
like
it. Where
that.
he's like,
Yeah,
ah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But he
I'm
was
like,
just so
okay, here you
relaxed,
go. I'll up your PCS another zero point 0.5 points of
Yeah.
presentation done. You
Yeah,
got it.
he did the same thing in 2024, and I'm pretty
But did
sure
he?
there was like a noise too. I don't remember. But yeah, he again today on Instagram right after his skate, he said, the last 2 weeks have been very tough on him, and
Oh,
he's happy that he got through it. So I don't know. It
good for
sounds
him.
like it was something more severe because he's not in the Grand Prix final now, which honestly might be a relief for him because the
Yeah.
Grand Prix final the last 2 years has not gone so well for
And
him.
he'd probably just appreciate that extra time to train. It's not like his
Yeah,
Olympic spot's really at risk
yeah,
at this
yeah.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. So 10th place here. Still a lot to like though. Vladimir Smoilov from Poland. I just want to make quick mention of him because he's one of those skaters that's backwards from what we're usually used to seeing. I think his skating skills are so strong and his
Yep.
finish, his spin positions are really good. He's another one that doesn't really hit a super awkward position because he's just trained so well as
Yeah.
far as the foundations go, but then his programs themselves kind of fall flat. He has his own way of presenting things. I would say the competition composition is probably the weakest part of his skating by far, but he actually presents the programs. I enjoyed him a lot more here than I have in the past. Um, and you know what? Quad Lutz too. That was a beauty of a quad Lutz to start his free skate. So he has the quads, just rushes a little bit, twists himself up. You saw it in the Salchow, he rushed it, but
Yeah.
still a lot to like here.
Yeah, I thought he was really undermarked myself in PCS in the short program. Like again, the great skating skills you could just see, especially in the step sequence,
Mhm.
like just maintain that speed. It's not like it was the fastest you're gonna see. It wasn't like Tomono level, but it was great, and I don't know what it's gonna take. Maybe it's just prolonged consistency for the judges to really take notice because they're not
Mhm.
rewarding him right now like they
Yeah.
really should. He's all again, like you're saying, not hitting bad position at all. His posture is really good. Like
Mhm.
it's really weird to see him at 11th.
He does that
But
Sasha
like
like that spin, the combo at the end of his combo
yeah,
spin where
that
he
too,
pulls
that
his
too,
blade
that
off.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he
So
almost lost control of it. He actually
yeah.
did, at the end.
Yeah.
But still, it
Yeah.
was so good. Like I don't know. It felt really strange to see the 11th place for this skate.
Hmm.
I would have placed him definitely above Sadowski, Tomoki, Gogolev. Like
Hmm.
there should have been a bigger PCF differential between
Hmm.
these skaters. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Definitely
that
shouldn't
that
be
wraps
losing
up.
to Gogolev in PCS, but whatever.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. That wraps up the men. We're gonna go into the ice dance really quick. So winners, Gillis and Poirier. We haven't seen them yet this season. Much like Chalk and Bates, much like Inyar and Fabry, these are three of the top four teams in the world. We didn't really see anything. We didn't see anything from any of these teams prior to the Grand Prix. So this is all brand new. This is the first time they're receiving feedback. We've seen issues with the first two teams. Are Gillis and Poirier going to get through this very well, or what's going to happen? Let's
Mhm.
start off with the rhythm dance. I think their rhythm dance last year to the Beach Boys was the best rhythm dance out of all of them. This year, they're doing a combination that includes RuPaul, so I'm completely into it because this is my kind of thing. Um, I think they totally get into it. It was really cool. They looked, I'm not gonna say they looked competition ready because they didn't. Even though it came across as not quite finished, I think if we're comparing it to the other top teams, it might be the best. And I'm even considering Fournier, Baudry, and Cizeron
No, for
at
real.
this
Yeah, yeah. In terms of
point.
like meeting the
Yeah,
actual requirements of the
yeah,
rhythm dance and it being
yeah,
90s, I would agree with you.
yeah.
It's one of the better
It
rhythm
doesn't
dances
mean
out
that I
there.
would score it the highest, but I'm
Fair,
saying as
yeah, because
far
the
as
elements
like,
still matter.
yeah, yeah. But as far as like a vibe of a rhythm dance, I like this one probably the best, just as I liked last year for them. So I think they get it right when it comes to getting the theme correct or
Yeah,
actually
they
getting
always
the vibe of
understand the
the theme.
assignment, always.
Yeah,
They really do.
yeah.
And I give them great credit for that. And I think that's what's really kind of endeared them to fans is that they're going to give you that something different all the time. You may not
Hmm.
necessarily like the skating, or maybe you don't like the idea of what they're doing, but
Hmm.
it's always much appreciated because it is a little unexpected. It's always some
Yeah.
type of out of the box. Even when they go really kind of like I don't want to say like necessarily old with it, but just like both sides now. Even I think back to that, to where this song sounds like something you would never heard of, that like your grandparents listened to, and you found it in some box, some old thing in this old school vinyl, right?
This is a very famous song, by the way, but go on.
Oh, is it okay? Well, I'm
Yes.
I'm just it didn't. The adult contemporary my family
Okay,
significant
listen,
to
this
is not
this
having.
artist, Joni Mitchell, she sang this song when she was very young and it was completely different. And then she
Oh,
went
was
back
it?
way later on and she sang like
Okay.
looking back at her like, yeah, so as far as Canadians go, she's very well known and I'm sure Americans will say the same. But this
Sorry, I'm
was
just very uncultured when it comes to this. Everybody,
but
I will
anyways,
admit this. But anyway, love it, right? So I thought the short program was really, or sorry, the rhythm dance was really good. Like I really enjoyed it, just like you were saying. If again you're looking at the competition, oh, like again, I could see this getting second at like the Olympics and the rhythm dance just for that. I do think a lot of their elements in the rhythm dance are overscored.
mhm.
Like I don't understand any fours they got other than the choreo step and the rotational lift.
That the choreo step was good. I will
Oh, it
give
was
him
good. It
that.
was good. It was
Yeah,
a vibe. I would have given
yeah,
5 for the choreo step,
yeah, yeah.
four for the rotational lift, but everything else was definitely 3 or 2.
Hmm.
Yeah, a little bit overscored for me, but still solidly in first. And then the free dance, I called it Vincent 1.5. It's really not a 2.0 because everything
Yeah,
still
it's
feels a lot the same.
yeah,
I love the way it opens, the choreographic jumps. I was like, oh wow, another team that actually understood this element. It was
yeah, and it
creative, it
fit
worked with the
very well.
music, and they're able to evolve it from like the first version. And I love that
Hmm.
too, where whatever the opening move worked so well, and like, oh, let's just turn this into that extra
Hmm.
choreographic element we
Hmm.
can do now.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really great. I really love the dance spin too. That felt really
Hmm.
good and smooth. How they're going opposite direction. It gave us that different look, and then it just got to those 1 foot turns and it just fell apart.
Well, yeah, and let's talk
Completely
about that.
fell
So,
apart.
you know why I think it did though, and this is like risk versus reward, right? Because they're doing like this nice spiral mid 1 foot sequence, which we have never really seen that before.
Yeah.
Before, as far as I know, this is something unique. Give them all the points for that, but you don't get points for that because this element is looking at four specific things within the element, and you have
Right.
to
Because
hit all
like
four.
right after that, they both do a rocker and it's
And
so
they're
messy.
terrible. It's
It's
terrible.
so messy, right? And
He
so I
was
was really
about to fall
surprised.
over. He was
Yeah.
really like,
Because they totally lose all momentum. And then you can
yeah.
see them really struggling. And I wonder if it's built in that way because they do this like they change edges back and
Well,
forth,
but that's the thing. Like your
traveling in a
center of
line to try to
body,
regain this
yeah,
speed. But to me, this is a negative GOE issue, right? Like
yeah,
there are so many negative features now in this
yeah,
element that I don't
yeah,
see where judges found the features to give them for. You're not even
yeah.
allowed to give a 4 in GOE when
If
there's a
they have a,
negative feature.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
And so I'm like, wow, I saw multiple negative features.
yeah,
4 is
yeah.
absurd. You can maybe make an argument for the +3, maybe.
And that's
But to
why,
me,
you know
it's
what?
+2, +1 max,
I,
and so I didn't understand this at all.
I was shocked that they both held the level three because
Yeah.
really, I mean, the spiral was so cool. You go from 1 second to thinking, oh, the spiral in the middle of this is cool, this edge work, and then they go back up. They have to kind of center their balance, and then they're both so clunky through the rocker. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he literally had two visible wobbles throughout this thing. Like his blade was not secure. So you cannot give him the level on that one part. So
And none of the turns
getting
after were clean enough for me
that's
too,
what I'm
because they
saying. How do
traveled
you give
no
him a level
distance, right?
three? Like that's
So
what yeah,
like I want to go back and rewatch this and really see
yeah,
what they did. It's just like once they did the spiral and then it got messy, I just
yeah,
was like, oh, I started
yeah,
fixating on that.
yeah.
And it just kind of fell apart. Like I thought the choreographic slide was cool, right?
Hmm.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Then that curve lip was such
Two
a mess.
visible
Yes,
misses by him.
because they
Two
totally
visible
missed the
misses.
entry and getting
Yeah,
into position, right? Like
yeah,
they literally tried like twice. You could see that, right?
yeah,
They just totally mistimed it together. You
yep.
could see to where their timing was off since the
Hmm.
whole 1 foot turns and it got really messy. And so, just explaining that really quick, they're going for that difficult entry for her and for
Hmm.
him. He's supposed
Hmm.
to be in that spread eagle. She's supposed to have that difficult movement into getting into position,
Hmm.
but they just totally miss on both because he doesn't hold that spread eagle, right?
Right.
And so they miss that feature. She's not holding her position for 3 seconds. So all they have is that difficult feature for him
Hmm.
for 3 seconds, and there's no exit feature.
Yeah,
So yeah, really messy, really,
yeah,
really messy. And everything after that too. Like even the Twizzles, I thought,
yeah.
who were these judges giving 3 GOE in this?
I mean, we already know like we
I know.
saw, it's
I know.
just
It's just kind of like the trend in ice dance today. If you're a top team, even if the
you're
Twizzles
gonna get
are
high
low
GOE. Yeah,
quality, you're gonna get high
yeah,
GOE, right? But to me,
yeah,
like I don't even give it positive GOE. This is a zero
yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
But that second set just like loses all forward momentum, rotational momentum, just really, really messy.
yeah.
I didn't get that at all. And
So,
same thing with the diagonal steps. So they're doing a diagonal, it gets called a diagonal.
mhm.
Fournier, Baudry, and Cizeron do a serpentine on the diagonal, right?
Hmm.
The ice coverage is just night and day
Yeah.
differences
Yeah.
here. And they're really slow throughout, really tentative. I don't see where when they're head to head with Fournier, Baudry, and Cizeron that they still get threes and fours in GOE on this element. They don't.
Yeah.
They should be maxing at +2.
Yeah.
Like it just wasn't there, right? The features to me
Hmm.
just weren't there. I didn't see this easy flow. I didn't. It was musical, right? But
Hmm.
so they got stuck in a lot of these different turns where
Right.
they're then pushing to
Oh,
regain
yeah.
speed and momentum. So it's a lot of like smoke and mirrors to kind of like make it look better than it is. So
It's
it
very
just
first
felt
time out.
flat.
It was very first time out, and especially for him, he's usually the rock star of the team and he's holding it together,
Yeah,
but you could see he's very much from that one point in the 1 foot that he was wobbling, you can see very visible, just not quite over his skates.
yeah.
Everything became really tentative, much like Chalk and Bates last week. Like
Yeah,
it
the
just
timing was
was not,
really
yeah,
off at the end of this program. It started out great, but it
yeah,
was just for like the first like 30, 45
yeah,
seconds. And then just
yeah,
ever after that point, yeah, you could see that little stops and resets between the
yeah.
elements instead of everything just feeling like one thing all the way throughout. Like again, you saw with Fournier, Baudry, and Cizeron. The
Hmm.
whole program just feels like one intentional movement all the way throughout, one
Yeah.
choreography, not a bunch of different stuff you're sticking together. And so this really felt like that toward the end. But I still love what they do. I love that they end with a combination lift
Yeah,
because
I mean that let's talk about that because that is like a good 12 points right there. If something goes wrong,
risky,
like goodbye. Yeah.
so risky,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And this is why teams don't do big elements like this at the very end because they're so
It's
high risk. That's why they do
100%.
choreographic.
They missed
And
the
so
entry to that and they literally 12 points off their score. 11, 12 points just not there. And
done
you know,
when you're the
yeah.
most tired, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so I loved it. I love how they still have that like helicopter, kind of
Yeah,
like
I liked yeah,
element at
yeah.
the end.
That's
I know it
yeah.
was like when this program first came out, it was really hit or miss with people because people were like that position's ugly or whatever. And I'm like, I don't feel that. I just think it's cool and it
Yeah.
works. It feels musical with me
Yeah.
or to me. I just again the program just overall was a little bit of a miss. Even then,
The score.
the score 117.51. Even with this like big curve lift mistake, there wasn't this margin in the program.
Yeah.
If let's say they do that curve lift really clean, they would have gotten like 4 or 5 more points.
Hmm.
Then they're scoring what Chalk and Bates did on their
Yeah.
debut too, the
Yeah.
123, 124.
Yeah.
That's not what these teams want to see. Really, no. And this is after getting benefit of the doubt from the judges again.
But I also like, okay, so I've been told, Chalk and Bates are going to go back to the drawing board. They're going to fix their mistakes, blah, blah, blah. Gillis and Poirier, we're going to assume the same. But Chalk and Bates skate again in 2 weeks. Gillis and Poirier skate again in Finlandia in 3 weeks. Then they have potentially the Grand Prix final a few weeks after that. Then they have their nationals. Like, when is all this going to change so much? I
Right.
feel like, Guignard and Fabry were slammed. I understand it's a different situation because they were off the podium at Worlds and they needed every last thing to gain momentum back. They were slammed for not doing competitions prior to the Grand Prix. But I'm almost feeling like, this could apply to Chalk and Bates and to Gillis and Poirier as well, because now when are all of these changes going to take place? Gillis
Right.
and Poirier don't necessarily need to change that much. They
Right.
just need to get
Clean it
more
up.
practice under them. But
Mhm.
Chalk and Bates need an entire new. They need a new concept. They need a new layout to their program. They need a ton of stuff. But anyways, that's neither here nor there
Yeah,
because
because at
they
least
didn't
with like
compete.
Gilles Farmer, like I think I would just highlight a few differences in that. I
Yeah,
still feel like they have really great highlights in the music. They are listening to the music. They're building elements to where if they really hit them, you can find to where to give them this +4 GOE, right? Where instead of just like +2, +3. Whereas
yeah,
I feel like with Chalk and Bates's free dance, it's not there. There's really big misses. There's these big highlights. They're just not highlighting,
yeah.
you know? And to me, it's maybe we'll talk about it at the end and we'll get back to that, just what Chalk and Base need to do because we're going to see them next week, right? No, Skate
In
America
Skate
next week.
America, Skate America.
Yes, we're going to see Chalk and Bates next week.
No, 2 weeks.
Oh my God, NHK's next week. Okay, in two
Yeah,
weeks, right? Like
yeah.
well, we'll talk about that maybe like then, but like there's
Hmm.
so much they could do, so much they could
Hmm.
do with this story. Even when
Hmm.
you're just thinking that their painted black comes from Westworld, I'm just like, it's literally about those two characters,
Hmm.
and why not just make it a character piece?
Yeah.
And she could be an easy Maeve. Like, well, anyway,
All
I
right, let's
tangent again.
let's let's move to Ryden Ambrulevičius from Lithuania. Surprise, surprise, surprise! Second place here and
Boy,
comfortably so, winning the free dance. So let's talk about. how close it was, first of all, from them almost winning the competition, which is crazy to me. Second of all, one thing I have to say about them, we have commented on kind of their lack of overall skating skills, the distance
Mhm.
between them in some of the hold elements, the weakness of the programs, the emptiness. We've said though, their programs are both a vibe. Like they're both so audience friendly, and I see where they're pulling those scores because audience reaction has a lot to do with scores, unfortunately, as we see. I think they've had to come into this season. Well, actually, okay, let's just circle back to what we just talked about. Chalk Bates, Guignard Fabry, Gilles Poirier don't do anything in the summer, don't do anything in the early fall. They show up to the Grand Prix. This is their first time. Rita and Ambrulevicius had to be on top of their game from the start. They were going to get an Olympic spot anyways, but they had to get their mindsets ready
Right.
to be ready for this competition because
In
they had
September,
to
yeah.
earn the Olympic spot. Right. So they started earlier. Yeah, it looks like they're more prepared, obviously, because they've competed. So I think this is their fourth competition already this year. Um, I can't really say anything further than what I've said about them,
Oh yeah.
but
I actually
you
do
know,
have more different observations. I agree
yeah.
with your criticisms. I don't think any of our criticisms change. I do think the rhythm dance is better than I gave it credit for earlier.
Mm,
I do because it's not like anyone has a great rhythm dance, and I do feel like for the no touch, for example, they don't have to
yeah.
be in hold. They
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
excel in this element. It's probably their best element in the rhythm dance, right? And you could see that to where they were really close together. They stayed really consistent. Their spacing and their speed. She's able to hit these deeper edges, and they put her in front and just show the judges, "Oh, look, I did this." Right? The
Yeah.
impression's just so
Yeah.
much better, I think,
Yeah.
too. And then again, they bring the vibes in, and when the rhythm dances this season are just such misses for almost like 90% of teams, I appreciate that more. But the free dance, I like even less though. Somehow it got even worse
I
because
don't know. It's
it got even worse for me. Okay,
yeah.
because so I'm sitting here and I'm just like, okay, like I'm gonna give them a chance now. I enjoy the rhythm dance more. I appreciated it more. But then the free dance, I'm like, oh, this music's literally irrelevant.
Yeah.
I'm listening to it and I'm like, wow. And I'm watching things like the step sequence, right?
Hmm.
None of it's so generic. They're not doing
Yeah.
anything really in tune to the music.
Yeah.
The music's just kind of just dun 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 dun. So they just do these long, easy edges. They're not doing anything really difficult, in addition to really get that GOE. But what they're doing is just Allison's giving you that face. They're pointing at
Yep.
you at the right time and trying to
Yeah.
charm the judges, right? But there's just no complexity at all to this program. Completely
Yeah.
open all the way throughout. Even again, somehow even more than I thought. It's the same thing in the one for turns too. There's no real body movement to interpret the music. It's all just really
Yeah.
stiff, up and down. You think about Gillis and Poirier that are trying to do something different to truly kind of highlight it. They're just not. They're just going to be slow, steady, and I'm going to charmingly point at you at some
Hmm.
point, and that's it. This is the whole program. It's just moments that maybe you think that was cool, but when you look at the whole package, there's just so little there, so
I,
little. It's just
I
all
don't
about
I don't
moments of
disagree. Yeah.
vibes,
Yeah. That's
and
why I think the PCS is too high for what they do.
way
And we
too high.
talk about you look at like the diagonal step and stuff like that. The separation that they have, you're really supposed to your bodies are supposed to be as close together as possible because then your skates are close together. They're kind of far apart. And their twizzles are far apart. That first set of twizzles is really far apart. And even that, they have the leg extended and that's their feature or whatever, but it's not
Yeah,
it's pretty basic. It's not anything that's above and beyond what we've seen. I don't think it's like, especially here getting into these next two teams, they have their faults, yes, but I just don't see where they're running away with the PCS and the way they are. I feel like it's the same free dance year after year after year. One year it was the cell phone, the next year it was like Robert Miles. I don't know if it was even
right,
the same, but like there's always something going on. Like I feel like
right.
it's the same vibe. They've
And
found the vibe and they've stuck with it, and that's it.
it's all, yeah, like you're saying, it's really serious when we say this, but this really is a vibes based team because the way I'm now thinking about their free dance and probably about all their free dances is that it's almost constructed like a men's long program to where there's nothing happening. It's just here are the elements. Here are some cool vibes right to the
Yeah.
music, but we're not doing anything in between them. And
Hmm.
now here's the last 90 seconds. Let me
Hmm.
sell it.
Yeah.
And they do. Like I think they sell the end of the program really well. I still really love the choreographic spinning movement because it's really just vibing and walking around in a circle, but no one's doing that and giving us that.
Yeah.
So it's something different. It's a different look. But like
Hmm.
again, here's choreographic element. We're done.
Hmm.
Right. And you see this, I'm looking at the GOE and I'm like, wow, that choreographic lift, even though the music's irrelevant to it, and they've done it
Hmm.
before, I'm seeing a
Hmm.
bunch of fours and a five.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, no. Yeah, I was trying to give him a chance. I was like, maybe we're being too harsh. And the rhythm dance, I felt that a little bit. And the free dance, I'm like, no, 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 actually, I've been too easy on them.
Which is
And they're
surprising.
probably our European bronze medalists, most likely. So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
would say that's how it's shaping up.
Yep.
Yeah, it is what it
Anyway,
is. Le Joie and Laga. So I really love this team. I think you
yeah.
do as well.
And you
If we're
convinced me,
talking,
really. You were
yeah,
kind of pushing it on me until I was like, oh, you're
I
right.
was pushing in the days that they were third in Canada.
You
I'm
were
like,
you were
no, they
pushing this
should
like
be
over four
pushing for
years ago.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, for me, if I'm looking again, I'm big on the foundations of skating. I'm big on this edge work. I'm big on the cleanliness of everything. If
Mm,
I'm being 100% realistic with what I look for, I think Fournier, Baudry, and Cizeron. I mean, people are going to say, "Oh, it's crazy that you think this after their first competition, whatever." But they're just so good. But then if I'm looking at another team, I really think that Lajoie and Laga are probably second best in that regard. They are certainly better than all three teams that are on the podium right now. Guignard and Fabry have kind of lost their way where I would have said, they're really strong in foundations, but I think Lejoie and Lega, excellent, excellent skaters, and it should be rewarded. Now, this is another team, they switch their free dance. They're kind of not completely 100%, I would say right now.
yeah.
Rhythm dance is for such traditional, strong skaters. This is a weird choice. I like it though
I
because,
loved it.
like we said,
Loved it.
you have
90s
to
cheese all day.
exactly. And
Yep.
he's this person that's, and then he goes into the program, woo, and then he's done, and he's like,
It was so
again,
surprising. I wasn't
yeah.
expecting that level of just kind of like performance from him.
No,
And
not me,
right,
not me.
right,
I
not at
completely
all.
expect
So it
it.
was a great
I
surprise.
completely,
Yeah, I really like this rhythm dance. It's definitely up there as one of my favorites this season. I actually think
yeah,
it's good. I'm not just feel like
yeah,
I don't feel like I'm just settling that
yeah,
something's finally just like kind of hitting it. No, it really hits it. It hits, I think, the 90s rhythm dance out of the park.
yeah.
And they're not the team I thought would do that at all.
I was because I just see him being so cheesy during the program, but then he's just so grumpy, otherwise. But he's actually a very funny person. I think that he's just a very sarcastic, whatever.
Yeah.
But to me, this is what I would expect from him, just this kind of like
Mhm.
mix of just vibes and ridiculousness, and
And
then
but until they had that issue with their choreographed rhythm step, they were doing really well. There were
yeah,
judges giving them
yeah.
fours for the step sequence, the side by side, like that was really good. The twizzles, I felt like just getting it smoothed out. It felt a little rough in places.
But when they do, so yes, it was a little bit rough, but the pattern they do and the little amount of time they
Yeah,
need to do their counter rotate. I mean, this is far and away better than what we see with the
it
top teams
is.
in the
It is.
world.
It is because
It
they're doing it with speed, not just like a directional
distance,
momentum, but
everything.
rotational momentum too,
Yep,
right?
yep,
And they're actually going for it. They're
yep,
making this a riskier element that it really needs to be relative to the top teams who
yep,
aren't giving you that.
yep,
And it really they had that kind of freak accident in the choreographed rhythm step. I didn't go
yeah,
rewatch it, and I should have to see
yeah.
what the
He missed
miss
her
was.
hand.
He missed a hand. It was a weird catch, and then he ends up rotating her for like more than one rotation or something. And I think that's where the exclamation comes from because then it becomes a spinning movement thing, and it's like an element within an element, which
Mhm,
they've made it a lot less punitive to do that. That's my guess. I just haven't gone back to rewatch it, and I should have. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I could totally see this doing well, even with that mistake that Lejoy and Lagat do in the choreographic rhythm sequence or step. They're only a point behind Carrera and Ponomarenko, who more or less were clean, but they had a lot of issues that I'll talk about later,
mhm,
in their
mhm,
skating this week.
mhm,
But I think this bodes really well for them because without
mhm.
that mistake in the choreographic step, they would have 5 more points and they'd be in the 80s easily,
More than that,
right?
yeah.
Which is exactly where they want to be, and maybe their
Mhm,
PCS would be a little higher because they're literally having this really awkward moment at the very end. It's the last impression. It's going
mhm.
to lower PCS for a few judges in
Right,
the
right.
right in the presentation part. But I thought this was a really good rhythm dance. I'm still so surprised. I know you're not. I didn't expect to like this as much as I did. It just gave me 90s and in a really
Mhm,
cheesy, like I'm drunk
mhm,
at a game type of way. Like it was
mhm,
just really great. And I'm
mhm,
tailgating after.
mhm.
Um, the free dance we've seen before. I honestly don't know the program well enough to know what changed, if anything. Um, but
Certain rules change, so I know like the Twizzles are different. This was a program. This was the year that they did not make it to Worlds because only two teams went to Worlds. And this is when I was pushing. I was saying, this team is better than other options, and they should have been at Worlds, but they were the third team, so
yeah,
they didn't go. Um, I'll let you go into the specifics of it. I think. it's a really good program. I think that again, this is just if I'm looking from what I like and what I know the scoring to be, I feel like they are probably up there above even Gilles and Poirier as far as natural skating ability goes, and I don't understand why the judges are resorting them to kind of that next tier. And now, even at Worlds, they push them down even further. I really just don't understand what's
Yeah,
happening with it.
because they would kind of had like they were above Carrera and Ponomarenko for so long until Carrera and Ponomarenko for a while became that okay, maybe they are that next team and that's the
Hmm.
way they're being treated. I don't think that's the case anymore this season that we've seen. But
Hmm.
I, I like the first half of this program.
Hmm.
While seeing it
Hmm.
again, I really do like that first half. Everything's so choreographed so well. And especially when you're comparing this to the other White Crow free dance we saw, they're actually paying attention to the music. They're hitting those highlights of it. There's such great
Hmm.
musical phrasing in and
Hmm.
out. For me, where it really dies off is this kind of the end of the program. And I feel like they should switch some element order.
Yeah.
I don't like how it ends, like White Crow does, in this really kind of soft moment. You should be easing into it. It's almost kind of like you're going to rest in a way, and it's not. They do this really kind of really fast dynamic dance spin, and it just doesn't match for me.
Yeah.
I would love to see them switch it and do this dance spin earlier where the step sequence is, and then put the step sequence where the dance spin is, and then you could really have this moment to interpret the music
Yeah.
with showing off their long edges, and they don't have to do this crazy whatever movement to the soft part of the music. They can just literally focus
Hmm.
on just these few little moments. I think back to what like Reed and Really Vicious would do, right? Like just kind of have those soft moments where you're doing something in front of the judges that shows this sensitivity. So just
So just
switching these few
basically take
things.
out all the choreography and just stand there and do some arm movements.
I mean, yeah, maybe in a way, but I think the diagonal step would work way better to end the
Yeah.
program right before the
Yeah.
choreographic lift. That's
Yeah.
just what I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
So there's a few things here that I feel like could make the program stronger and have a better
Hmm.
impression at the end.
Hmm.
Because right now it feels really disjointed at the end for me because it doesn't end like the music does.
Hmm. And that is one thing I will say. The music and who did I talk about that? I think it was Brody in Somerville in France, but I said the music kind of lends itself to specific elements because just
Yep.
the shape of where it goes. And I agree with you. I had the exact same notes as you. I think we're saying the same thing, but I think they can reconsider where their placement is. And even for the GOE, we see that suffers a little bit if it's not matching exactly. I think they
Yep.
can think about that last minute and a half and make it better. Anyways, that being said, the PCS is just outlandish here. I don't understand. The skating quality here is just so good. I would say I would have no problem, especially Gillis and Poirier all over the place, wobbling on their edges. She has to push a ton to get any speed. There's no doubt in my mind that they are the strongest skaters
How
in
are
this
they not winning
competition.
skating skills?
Yeah,
Exactly. How are
it's
they
it's
not winning the
insane.
skating skills mark in this
Yeah,
competition? There's an
yeah.
argument for composition, presentation, sure, right? But skating skills, I'm like,
Subjective,
really?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Criminally underscored
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
Um,
ended up barely, just barely, they
hmm.
ended up with a bronze medal here. And then Carrera and Ponomarenko, surprisingly, I think, finishing in fourth place after being fifth at Worlds. So, first of all, the rhythm dance, they used Sweet Dreams and 100% Pure Love, which is like two of the choices that we had in that video in the summer that said, this is what we really want to hear. So I was all excited about this. What did you think about the rhythm dance?
It was okay. Like that's how I kind of feel about it.
Yeah.
Like it's forgettable. I don't remember anything specifically about the program. And I
Hmm.
think it's just the way they interpret it. It's way too much. It's like hamming it up too much on in his part.
Hmm.
Like, and I know you've always said this about him, but in the rhythm dance, it was really kind of apparent to me. And then they were just really sloppy all the way throughout, especially going into that rotational lift.
Oh,
Like that
yeah.
exit,
The
I think
exit
it's
was,
trip on the toe pick. It's just like not great, right? They
yeah.
disguise it really well.
No, no, that
Well,
was
disguise it
obvious.
enough to where some of the judges gave them +3, so there's
That was
plausible
so they probably were
deniability.
looking down already because they're like, oh, they're just,
And already marking right
I
on the
swear
screen.
that's
Yeah,
probably what
yeah.
happened. Yeah.
But definitely stumbled out of it. And then I felt like it's like when you say with a lot of these choreographic steps, it's just a bunch of nothing, just a
Yeah.
bunch of vibing in place, nothing
Yeah.
complex. Whereas, again,
Yeah.
if I want to go back to Fournier, Baudry, and Cizeron's choreographic step in their free dance, there's so much understated complexity going on. Like I could just
Hmm.
gush all the time. Where here, there's nothing happening like that. It's just a
No.
lot of side by side vibing.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Lithuanians more, right? Even if
And the rhythm
technically
is,
maybe
yeah.
like the skating skills here are better and they're skating
Hmm.
faster and the programs were difficult, I would much rather have watched Reed and Abrulevicius than Kerr and Ponomarenko here.
Yeah.
There's just something really missing in their skating
So
right now. And I wonder if one of them is injured or they've been off the ice for a while.
I think it's the same thing as it's always been, and I always felt like I was a party of one trying to talk about this. But the thing is, the rhythm dance, we talked about cheesy, how it's the only thing that's really getting us going this year. La Joie and Laga do that. My issue with Anthony is that his upper body is just so locked in place and he's unable to really loosen up and sell anything. And I feel like if you're going to skate to this high party dance vibes, then you need to be able to loosen up a little bit. So for me, even though his face is doing a lot of craziness and they more or less keep up with the speed, it's just so wooden almost
Yeah.
that it's not believable as a program. And that has nothing, that's just my personal opinion of why it's not hitting with me. You can look at other aspects to why they're getting scored, how they're getting scored, but for me, it just never really connects because I'm just so fixated on how he's not really loose. And a while back, probably 5 or 6 years ago, it was always he's the really strong skater. She really needs to catch up. And now I feel like for a long time it's been she always gets it right, and he's kind of looks like he has some minor injury all the time, or he just can't. His core is just so stuck in place that it doesn't really sell the program. Now,
Yeah.
the free dance is Notre Dame de Paris, which we've heard it so many times. It's one of those overused
Yeah.
pieces, and I'm like, eh. But I
Total miss for me.
actually
Total miss.
really okay,
I
okay,
loved last year's free dance actually. I felt like they had really great innovative elements. It felt like they and more true to them. This felt like they were trying to replicate that, and it's just
yeah,
totally misses. Like I love the opening straight line lift, but then after that, I'm just kind of like, okay. Like I just
yeah,
lost a lot of interest very quickly. And then the middle section is so awkward. It's almost like poorly designed and constructed because it's just element after element after element without any type of speed.
yeah,
They right after the choreographic step, they go into the curve lift, and then right
hmm
after that, with almost like no time, they go into the rotational lift that covers
yeah,
no
hmm
ice, ends at like a stop, right, to then do the dance spin. And I know that's by design, but the impression's so
hmm
bad. They
hmm
and the exits really sloppy again. I don't
Well,
even think they get
yeah,
the yeah.
I
So they
was
only
gonna
got
say
level
the
two for the rotational lift, and I'm not giving them that exit feature. It's sloppy, right? Like I don't think it's just clean when she leaves, and
yeah,
then lands on the ground. Like it's just not great. And then it just the ending is just also kind of fizzles.
hmm
Like you're ending in this really high part of the music, and like, oh, what's a great way to emphasize how big and high this music is? Choreographic twizzles. I'm like, no,
yeah,
no. What are you
yeah,
doing? Like,
yeah,
barrel down the ice, do a lift, like a choreographic lift, right? Like, I just
yeah,
don't understand this. Let's try to be unique and do a
hmm
choreographic twizzle that no one's really understood how to do well. I think
hmm
even this element, even Papa Docs and Cicerone, felt like just
yeah,
kind of threw it away in
yeah,
their last free dance. But like, it's just not a great impression. I don't feel into this program. I don't feel like they're into it. And in a year like this, material is going to really matter, especially
hmm
when you have these teams like Zingas and Kolesnik really kind of like nipping at you, right? And now I'm like, oh, I never thought I'd say this. I prefer Zingas and Kolesnik.
hmm
Who am I? I'm like, who am I
yeah.
right now?
Well, okay, what I
Not
can say
great.
about the free dance, just like a few things. Coming out of the curve lift, it looked like once again similar to the rhythm dance. It looked like he had a problem coming out of it. It was
Yeah.
not as severe as what the rhythm dance was. I don't think there was any hiding it in the rhythm dance, but in the free dance, I saw a little bit of something. I don't know if you said all the elements are so close together. I don't know if that's what kind of threw off the timing
Yeah.
because they didn't have. And then also when they were going right into the diagonal, like at the very beginning of it, it looked right when they were coming around the corner, it looked like it was a little bit sticky to where they
Mhm.
almost, I don't know which one it was, but one of them definitely had a little slip. Didn't really affect the element, but I don't know, maybe that threw off the timing just slightly because it was a little bit insecure.
Yeah.
But that being said, just all those little instances throughout the competition, they're clearly not 100% yet. I don't expect anyone to be. It's 3 months till the Olympics. It's 2 months until they really need to be at their top. But the big thing for them is finishing fourth place here. I mean, they could still make the Grand Prix final. They could, but it's very highly unlikely. I mean, you look at other teams that have won so far. There's three different teams that have won. That's already four teams. You have to look at like Zingis and Kolesnik. They have a tough competition coming up for themselves, but in the scope of them, Zingis and Kolesnik still having an outside chance to make the Grand Prix final. They still have an
What did
outside
Zingas
chance.
get in Klesnik get? They got a silver though.
Right, but their next competition is very stacked.
Right.
However, I think that the Carrera and Ponomarenko are going head to head up against Lejean Laga again at Skate America, so it's really going to matter who finishes second there. If they can finish second, then we're looking at what Zingis and Kolesnik will do in their second event.
Yeah.
Depends on who skates there. But either way, Zingis and Kolesnik scored higher here. So if they can put themselves in contention to maybe be alternates to the Grand Prix final or maybe sneak in there somehow, they're putting themselves ahead of Carrera Ponomarenko potentially, which I don't think anyone saw because Carrera and
Right.
Ponomarenko are fifth in the world. So now it's
Fifth in
kind
the
of throwing
world,
everything up in
scoring
the
in
world.
like almost like the mid 120s.
Yeah.
This is like 10 points lower than that for
Yeah.
a clean skate, right? And
Well, I mean, there was a lot wrong with it,
yeah,
and
a lot wrong. It
again,
was wrong.
I think it's the content. I don't really the first half of the program, which I never mentioned, the first half of the program, I liked it more than I thought I was going to because I'm like, oh, this music, and then it kind of did just fizzle out for me as well, and a lot of it comes back down to I just get distracted by his skating, and it looks like he's in constant angst. Really, it shouldn't be
It's
like
just
a
kind of the
criteria.
only way he can perform, I feel
Yeah,
like.
but
He
he's
just
like
knows how to give
grimacing.
angst and then nothing. There's like
Yeah,
no other
yeah,
vibe he can really
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not super impressed. I don't think it's all over for them. We'll see what happens at Skate America. That second and third place battle is obviously going to mean a lot because if Carrera Ponomarenko can push up into second and Lejeune Laga finish third again, then Carrera Ponomarenko would pass them in the Grand Prix standings, blah, blah, blah. Then we have to see how the rest of the season plays out. All right, let's move on. We've talked about them for too long.
Machek, so Moskova Machek. I so this is the team that's actually using AI in the rhythm dance.
Oh, I forgot. Like I want to rant about this so much and I forgot about it because I was thinking about their free dance. But yes, so this is a rule we talked about when we first talked about these new rules for this season, and the potential is there if you want to go into ChatGPT or whatever AI you want to and you say, give me a program that sounds like 90s that gives vibes of Bon Jovi, which is exactly what they did. The song is trash, the lyrics are trash. I
The
mean,
lyrics
it's
are
really
ridiculous too. And
yeah,
it's
it's
like, did you not run this by anyone? The one I
yeah.
wrote down, and there's other ones, but they're like, first we run and then we laugh till we cry. What does that even mean? This is like,
So
I like K-pop and it can have a lot of weird lyrics, for language barrier reasons. This is worse than anything you hear in K-pop too. Like it's just so bad. So that just really threw me out of it.
yeah, yeah.
And then you could just really see how messy they were in both phases of the competition here. They're going for the speed, 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 speed,
Especially the free dance, yeah.
but no stability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just want to go back to this AI thing.
Oh, okay.
So
Still.
the rule, yes,
Right.
because the
Yeah.
rule is like you can pick a song that's created in 2025 after 2 seconds of typing whatever verb you want to into a machine. You use this song and it's perfectly acceptable, whatever. Then you have a team. I don't want to keep going back to Fournier, Baudry, and Cizeron because I'm really not a huge cheerleader of them. I just think that their content, their free dance this year is so good, like it's not
Mhm.
matched. But you look at what their original rhythm dance was, and it was Depeche Mode, and the problem with their rhythm dance was that the song they chose, or one of the songs they chose, was released in late 1989, but the album
Album
itself
song.
was released in 1990, which a lot of people, it's like a fine line, but a lot of people would consider the release date to be the album date because this is part of a collection
Right.
of an album and this is the release date. But since it was released in 1989, I think it was an American official or judge or I don't remember what, but somebody said they shouldn't be able to use this music because it's not within the rules. So they ultimately had to change their program to a Madonna program. But now you're telling me that team can literally go into a machine, type, this is the kind of song I want, and it's perfectly legal to use it. It sounds like trash. It's from 2025. It doesn't even, I mean, whatever. It doesn't even sound like it's Bon Jovi. I'm glad that they're the only team so far that is using this, as far as I know. But I just don't understand the point of having to do so. There's so much music out there. I know there's copyright, blah blah blah, but there should
Yeah.
be enough music out there that you have another option besides using AI. Anyways, rant over about that. Going into their free dance, these long skirts. I don't know why she's always going for this because I feel like that's given her problems in the past. But I did okay. So it's Malagueña. I feel like a lot of the elements actually do match the
Yeah.
music very well in the first half, especially you can see they were known for their speed as juniors. They kind of lost that identity, I would say, in the last few years as seniors. You see glimpses of it here where they're really just
Yeah. Well,
powering around the ice.
in juniors, they were falling like every other
Well, yeah,
competition. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like it was so great when they weren't, but then it's
yeah,
like, oh, here's a rhythm dance. Oh no, we turned the corner and our
yeah,
edge was too deep and we fell.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like, yeah, so at least they're not doing that. And that's probably why. But even still, it still feels like speed over stability
hmm
when when you're looking at levels here, the panel doesn't really care all that much about your speed as long as it's enough to have that forward momentum, right? But
Hmm.
there's just no stability. And I really noticed that big in the 1 foot turns, they were messy
Hmm.
all over the place,
Hmm.
totally wobbly. Where even if they have this great speed, none of the edges are really clean. Like, especially on her for her. I thought the same thing in the step sequence. Really just
Hmm.
messy all
Hmm.
throughout, you know?
Hmm.
So I really feel like that's just what's going to get this team to that next level is really
Hmm.
finding a way to clean that up because otherwise all that they have is this speed and then this really awkward posture, for her.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I can tell they're working on it, but to me, the shoulders still get really high when they come out of elements. Like you'll see
Hmm.
her exit a lift and her shoulders are up here until she has to like maybe think about it and soften it, but then the back stays stiff the whole time.
Hmm.
It's just really distracting, especially since he's almost opposite of that. His back's way more fluid, and there's just constant contrast. It's so severe. It reminds me a lot of the Duchesnays. And I want to rant about them. I could rant about them for an hour. So, but
Well,
that's
if
where my
you
brain went.
okay, so let's just really because we love talking about old skating. The Duchesnays were a team. They were from Canada. They ended up eventually representing France. They were Olympic medalists. Their really big breakout into the senior scene or the being known is because they had this jungle free dance in
Yep.
1988 that was highly controversial where we never saw this ever, but the panel was really split. Had judges that were like in the high fours or the low fives, and then there were other judges that were giving like 5.8. So it was very, very split opinion. They had their reasons why. She was always a very, very weak skater, honestly. We saw
Yeah.
them try to, in 1992, they had one free dance that they were going to use for the Olympics. And if you watch their Europeans free skate, they had this really cool kind of balance position at the end of their program and they ended up wiping out it completely. Long history for them, very, very interesting skaters, not the best skating skills, especially for her.
Yeah.
But creative programs, I will say. So go watch them if you haven't seen them. I could put a playlist too of kind of their greatest hits.
Yeah. It's
But
like
yeah.
two Peruvian panpipes, right?
Yeah.
Music.
Well, that was
It's
also very
missing. It's
controversial.
about,
Yeah.
yeah.
So because she was Christopher Dean's wife or girlfriend. I think it was she was his wife, maybe. Anyways,
Something like that. Time.
some kind of relationship. He choreographed for them, and then Tyler Cranston was such a big hater of Christopher Dean for some reason. Well, two things. So the funniest thing to me is in the 90s, World Pros was like this big, big event worth a lot of money, and Torval and Dean started going there, and Tyler Cranston was on the panel every single year, and Torval and Dean were getting like straight tens across the board from every judge. And then the one year, I remember he gave them a 9.6 or 9.7. I don't know what it was, but then in his book, he said, I tried to give them a 9.4 or something, and they wouldn't let him or something, or he claimed to give them. He hated them so much. Like he hated them. But second to
That's
that
great.
is that he said that the Ducheney is this program that they had this missing program. It was a direct copy of a dance that he had seen somewhere, and he
It's
referenced
true
it.
though. It's actually
And
true.
it is true. It's
It's true.
very true. Like it was found to be that it has actually pulled, like Christopher Dean literally pulled like this exact concept from a dance that had
The
been done. So
choreography too, the straight
yeah,
choreography that they do,
yeah,
especially that
yeah,
the whole thing
yeah,
that she's doing, yeah, totally
yeah,
just
yeah.
stolen. Yeah, from
So
something
Tyler
else.
Cranston had a
Uncredited.
point there, but still, like,
Yeah,
it was to see the we're getting so far off track, but the
I
program
know.
that Torval and Dean did was Cecilia, I'm pretty sure, and I loved that program. Simon and Garfunkel, it was really cool, but I Tyler really did not like them. But anyways, I have no idea what like how this is combining back to the Czech team
Oh,
at this
because it
point, but
reminds
here
me of
we
this,
are.
right? Because she's so stiff and he's so
Yeah,
fluid, and it reminded me of the
yeah,
Duchesnays. But
yeah,
like her skating skills are better in general,
yeah.
right? To where it's not just like
Hmm.
her going straight
Hmm.
and then like he's just circling around her and
Yeah,
orbiting her like a planet is pretty much the Duchesnay skating in like a nutshell.
yeah,
But like yeah, and so like this the impression to me just wasn't was good. I still did really I enjoyed it. I enjoyed how dynamic it was. Like it just and I felt like they carried some themes too from like element to element. Here's we're doing these really similar positions all throughout. It just is a miss still for me because they haven't cleaned up these other aspects of their skating. And these
I'm still
turns just
trying not to laugh about this orbiting around a planet thing that you said.
that's what she's doing. That's what she's doing, though. It's actually really funny too because I grew up in Bradenton, Florida, and they coached literally right up the road in the Elton Ice
Yeah,
Complex. Yeah,
yeah.
with like a lot of the Paris teams
Oh,
there.
well.
Anyway,
Okay, so the next few teams we've already seen so far this year, I'm just going to mention really quick L'Oreal and Le Gach. It looked at the beginning of the season like they were going to be far and away the Canadian number three team. Like they scored like 120 something in the free dance, which would have basically been like silver medalists at any Grand Prix so far this year.
Yeah.
Now they're kind of back in
Where they
reality. I
should
think they got
be.
like 108 here or something.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan of the free dance. We'll see how this plays out with Fabri and Ayer. They start their season, I believe, next week. They skate back to back now because they'll also be at Skate America. Not much else to say right there.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about the Germans, Jans van Rensburg and Stefan, though. I am a huge fan of this team. I feel
Me
like
too.
at Worlds, they were like 11th in the rhythm dance, and I thought to myself, okay, finally, maybe they're getting some respect. The rotational lift is usually a huge highlight with them. Probably one of the best in the entire field. But other than that, I mean, the rhythm dance didn't really hit tremendously with me. I just think the music was not music that I'm super familiar with, so it was just kind of
Yeah.
meh. But the free dance for me was really,
Me too.
really good. I
hmm
loved it. I really loved it, and I feel like they should have been quite a bit higher in this
I
competition. I
agree.
thought
I
they
think they got
were.
hosed on PCS for this too, for that program too, because the program had a lot of sophistication. It
Mhm.
was difficult. They had real transitions, and they were really performing all throughout. And you can always count on them to perform, but in today's ice dance, not everyone
Yeah.
does that, and they're always just really hitting that mark. Again, they get the assignment. It was really good.
Mhm.
I didn't get some of this like GOE 2 for their
Mhm.
choreographic elements that I
Mhm.
enjoyed way
Mhm.
more than a lot of
Yeah.
the teams above them, but they're being maxed out at a +3.
Mhm.
So I undermarked,
Yeah.
put their composition
100%.
in the eights, put their presentation in the mid eights because they deserve that. In my opinion, they don't
Yeah.
have the best skating skills, but
No.
for what they can, their skill level, they exceed it in the
Mhm.
performance every time for me.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm always gonna really enjoy them. I do want to mention one more thing though before we
Oh,
move
of
on.
course, I know what it is.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
tell
you
me.
do? Okay, okay. Literally,
Maybe
so it's Ian Somerville.
his reactions.
His reaction to the scores, where he's not hiding his displeasure at all. It's so
Yeah.
sarcastic, and
Mhm.
I feel like we can both be very sarcastic, so we see it.
Mhm.
And then in the free dance, he literally is
She had
laughing,
to like push
mocking the
up his.
score,
Yeah.
and yeah, Emily shuts him up. Literally, I'm like, wow. So you can tell there's some tension here.
Yeah.
And I can see it. I think they're being scored lower than their skill level, but
Mhm.
they lost that momentum, and it's
But
their
the thing
mistake
is,
that did it. So
they yeah, I mean, we're talking about 2024
yeah,
Worlds, the rhythm dance, which they didn't qualify to the free dance. This is their one opportunity to say, hey, we're up at the top level of US ice dance. That mistake, they didn't get at the free dance. Now they're kind of mid-pack now, kind of falling by the wayside. I do think though they were a little bit. He's such a better skater than she is, and I don't mean that in like a bad way because there's always one that's better than the other. Sometimes it's the woman that's better, sometimes it's the man, but with them it's he's definitely the better skater. I think that he's bringing a lot of the content to the programs. I don't think they're as good as maybe they think they are, but I also think that the scores really suffered here, even looking at what happened in France. So
well, and part of it's just this free dance again. It's really bad, especially when you compare it to
Lejeune,
like to where they're actually listening to the music and they're hitting it to where I feel like whoever choreographed this just wasn't hearing the music at all. You have them going through and just really missing those highlights. The piano just literally gives it to you. It's not like there's
Mhm.
all that many, but you have to hit them in this program.
Yeah,
When the music is really quiet and subtle, you have to fill that space and your
right.
timing has to be great.
Yeah.
They just miss this program misses the mark, and it's not
Mhm.
their fault. They didn't build this. They're trusting their team. And so it's really just all construction. It's all construction of the program that's just bad. I don't think their elements are bad.
Mhm.
They're much better skaters than this program is.
Mhm.
So it's again, it's a kind of an issue with the whole coaching situation
That's
with
what I
every
would
team
say.
that they
The
have.
camp. I mean, yeah, they just
Camp.
don't really have identities. We've seen even Green and Parsons have had some.
Yeah.
They had that free dance a few years ago that was just so not good, and they just stuck with it. And we saw what happened with them. I I wanted to message Ian. I've never talked to him, but I just wanted to be like, laugh emoji, hee hee, like feel for you with those scores. But he has his comments like, if he's not following you, you can't message him. So I was like, oh, can't message him.
Oh,
So
they'll
yeah,
always have that Daddy Cool program, which I loved. That
yeah.
actually worked really well for them. It was really charming, whatever. So if they can find that again, I think they could find their place again and their footing.
No, no,
You don't think so? They're done?
no, no.
Oh, well, we'll see. Um,
Middle of the pack U.S. ice dance teams. Even when all these top teams retire, no, I don't see it. unless they make a coaching change and they
That's what
really.
I mean, though. They really do. They need to
But
make
I
a
mean,
coaching.
she needs to go back to basics. They need to find an identity. There's a lot to do. There's other teams like the Browns. I think, they've been stuck in a rut, but I feel like they naturally have more
Yeah.
to offer. So I mean, there's other teams that would be ahead of them, I assume, without a lot of work. But
Yeah.
yeah,
The
that's
final
all.
takeaway I really got from here is just that like kind of Carrera and Ponomarenko not just being that next in line anymore. They're really not seen as that. This is what this competition felt like. We'll still see when they go head to
Yeah.
head with Zigas Kolesnik, especially if Zigas and Kolesnik make the Grand Prix final and Kerr
Yeah.
and Ponomarenko don't. We'll see how U.S. Nationals does because U.S.
Mhm.
Nationals there was always that big push for Zigas and Kolesnik. And it was
Mhm.
always the international judges that put Kerr and Ponomarenko above.
Mhm.
And we're kind of seeing that shift a little bit. So we'll see kind of how it settles out later in the
Mhm.
season.
Yeah, biggest takeaway from me, I think it's just we started with this and I'm gonna end with this. Just the scoring of the jump. I mean, we can even go back to China last week. The lifts. This lift issue that I called out in real time, and even the panel's not acknowledging it. There needs to be some kind of technology that it's going to. I don't know if the technology is available, but I'm sure seeing what they've done in tennis and football and baseball and all this stuff, they have to have some kind of technology that will help aid these technical panelists in making these calls because it's so inconsistent now. It's not fair to the skaters. It's not fair to the fans that truly believe
Right.
one week that all of a sudden the technique's amazing and then they're wondering why their favorite skater is now 20 points less than the next week because the judges are so mean.
And
But
yeah,
it's
and it's so bad that even the ISU's own commentators are calling it out.
that's the
Right. And
biggest
I can't imagine
yeah,
being that person like who feels this frustration that feels like I have to say this. I have to.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Yeah.
yeah.
So overall though, I enjoyed this more than Cup of China. I think Grand
Energy
Prix
level was much
Prince, yeah,
higher.
much better, much higher. I think the overall skating just a
Oh,
lot
and
better.
actually, you know what? I mean, for as not good as the men's free skate really was, the short program, I have to say I've been watching the Grand Prix back in the way back in the day when it started in 95, we barely saw anything, but starting 99, 2000, starting with, getting international feeds, we've seen a lot of skaters, and I think that from start to finish, the men's short program may have been one of the most well skated events in the
Yeah.
history of the Grand Prix.
Yeah. Samoylov scored 80.75, and that's an 11th place in the short program. That's how
Exactly.
strong
Yeah.
the short was
Yeah.
here. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I
It
totally
was
see
pretty
that.
good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Okay, next week we have NHK Trophy. We
Right.
see the Shibutanis. We're going to have a lot
Yeah.
to say about them because we were thinking about making a video a few weeks ago, but we didn't. Um, there's a lot to see there. In general, we're going to see what the Japanese women do, the Japanese men. I mean, they're at
Yeah.
home. A lot to look forward to. And once again, it's in the middle of the night. So we have that going for us. Otherwise, once again, the last video we had for Cup of China, we got so many comments. And, we try, between the two of us, we try to reply to every single comment. We like when people say, hey, this is where we think you have it wrong, the rule book says this, in my opinion, this, but just throwing out opinions, whatever, we'll still talk to you. We'll still disagree, agree to disagree. We love all the comments. If you want to email us, we added a donation button because somebody on Reddit mentioned that there should be a donation button. So if you go to the info on the YouTube page, there's now a donation to PayPal that I set up really quickly. I also put the links to our personal Instagrams if you want to follow us there. So, as always, we're wrapping this up. I'm sure, I don't know, I don't have a timer here, but I'm sure we went way over again when
I
we
still
didn't
think it
even
was two
talk about
hours.
the
I still
technique.
think it
Yeah.
was 2 hours when our
Yeah.
goal was like 90
Oh my
minutes.
God. Listen, if we talked about the technique, we would have been at 3 hours. But
I
yeah,
know,
so we're
right?
wrapping this up and we will be back next week for NHK. As always, thank you so much for watching. And as always, give us comments, critiques, concerns, whatever you feel, what we got wrong. But now, for now, my name is Tony Wheeler.
And I'm Thomas Vu.
Thank you for watching.
Right. Bye, everyone.